Life, Students Book 5, Paul Dummett, with John Hughes and Helen Stevenson. Published by National Geographic Learning, a Cengage Learning Company. Copyright 2025. Speaker 1.
It's a bit odd because I see him almost every day at work. He works in the marketing department on the 4th floor, and my office is on the 5th floor, and occasionally, just occasionally, we attend the same meetings. It's strange seeing someone you're so close to in a different context. We've been married for 7 years and work colleagues for about 9, but we try not to discuss work at home.
Speaker 2. We were good friends in school, and then in our early 20s, we went traveling together, but we see each other very rarely now. Marco lives in Toronto with his wife. She's a friend of my sister, and I still live in Vancouver. It doesn't matter how little we see each other. We're just really comfortable in each other's company. He never calls me, though, and every time I call him, he says, "Oh, I've been meaning to call you for a while." Speaker 3.
Dana's quite quiet, really. She spends a lot of time in her room. She's studying for exams at the moment, so I have to keep quieter than normal myself. But when I do see her, we get along fine. Occasionally, one of us will cook for the other. It's a good arrangement.
Today we're looking at the subject of animal friendships. We know that animals often cooperate in their own social groups, helping each other to hunt or raise their young. Some highly intelligent animals, like elephants, go even further than this and sometimes help other elephants outside their own family group. But new research has revealed that animals also make friends with each other. That's to say, they don't just help each other, they also like to hang out with certain individuals in the group in much the same way humans do. Paul Rose, an ecologist at Exeter University in the UK, studies animal behaviour. Looking at groups of flamingos from Chile and the Caribbean, he has found that they form cliques of friends. These friendships can last for periods of 20 years or more. Intrigued, Rose wanted to know what these friendships are based on and wondered if it could be linked to personality. So he hired an assistant, Fionnuala McCulley, to investigate. She has been making personality profiles of different flamingos within a group, and the evidence she has gathered is quite revealing. McCulley has identified 2 basic types of flamingo personality: more aggressive, outgoing birds and less confident, shy birds. The outgoing group often spends time together in larger cliques, while the shy ones gather in smaller groups and try to avoid conflict. It seems to reflect human behaviour, but Rose says that the study is not trying to compare animals and humans. Rather, he says, the researchers are interested to see how friendship can aid survival. Flamingos live in large flocks. The flocks are noisy and busy, and probably the birds don't need more stress. Having a buddy is good for your well-being. It now seems that this discovery is not limited to flamingos. Researchers are finding more and more evidence of complex social relationships between animals in squirrels, dolphins, and monkeys, to name just a few.
Go even further. If it could be. Can aid survival. To name just a few.
A generation of patchwork identities. India's post-millennial generation is the largest youth population of any country. More than 40% of India's 1.4 billion population is under 25. Like other post-millennials around the world, They have grown up in a time of financial insecurity. What also sets this generation apart is that they are digital natives. Living in a digital world, they are exposed to diverse cultures, unusual people, and unique life stories. This has made them self-aware and eager to express their own identities. While their parents might have had more conservative experiences and have been more likely to follow in the footsteps of their own parents, post-millennials seem more ready to experiment with ways of being themselves. Brother and sister Sanatan and Savitri Mato became a YouTube sensation in 2019 when they started posting videos of themselves performing Bollywood dance routines from their village in northeast India. Savitri trained as a schoolteacher, and Sanatan studied political science at the postgraduate level. He is thankful for the money his videos have brought the family. They have recently built their own studio in the family home. He is happier still that they have brought about some social change. Formerly, in rural areas such as this, young people usually would have gone into the same jobs as their parents. My message for the youth is very simple, says Sanatan. Don't waste time pursuing such careers for which you don't have any aptitude, and instead concentrate on your passion. 24-year-old Ramila Veerasinghe, who works in a famous high-class hotel in Colombo, Sri Lanka, loves her job as a chef. But she also has been working as a volunteer in her free time, counseling vulnerable women, a role she is just as proud of. She did not study psychology in college, but she has instinctive enthusiasm and empathy, which make her a natural counselor. Santosh Jadhav grew up watching his grandfather grow okra and tomatoes on their small family farm. He took over the farm when he was 22 and started to research better ways to farm with limited water. Combining his newfound knowledge with a passion for movies, he has been posting instructional videos under the account Indian Farmer ever since. In a country where over 40% of the population works in agriculture, it was a smart move.
1,
This has made them self-aware.
2,
They have recently built their own studio.
3,
He has been posting instructional videos.
Bloodlines. The U.S. as a whole is well known for being a melting pot of different ethnic groups and cultures, but this diversity is particularly evident in Queens, New York. Here, second-generation Puerto Ricans live alongside third-generation Greeks and first-generation Koreans, all united by a common feeling of pride in their American identity. However, they are also proud and curious about something that fascinates us all, their ancestral roots. These days, tracing back your family tree as far as you can using the internet is a popular hobby. But what really interests these families is their recent history. How their grandparents and great-grandparents arrived in America, what brought them there in the first place, and how they, their descendants, can best honor their memory. Here are 2 typical Queens residents' stories. Richard, 38.
My great-grandfather Thomas was a builder by trade, like me. He came to America from Poland when he was 15. His mother had become ill and died, and his father remarried to be able to take care of his 7 children. Thomas didn't like his new stepmother, so he ran away to Belgium, where he boarded a ship to America without a ticket. He was clearly a free spirit. Arriving in America with nothing, he got a job on the railroads in California. Then one day, by chance, he saw an announcement in a newspaper. It was from his brother in New York, who had also come to America to seek his fortune and was now looking for Thomas. Thomas got in touch, and the two had an emotional reunion in New York. Thomas settled in the city, and the two worked in construction. This is the story that my grandmother has passed down to us, to my parents and all my aunts and uncles. She is an amazing woman, the one who holds us all together. She's actually quite forgetful now, but she never forgets family details. This has meant that all of us, brothers, aunts, cousins, now have a strong sense of belonging to a group that has struggled and fought together to succeed here.
Tanya, 29.
I'm a first-generation American. Both my parents came here from Jamaica, where getting a good education is a must. My mother says that people may take everything away from you, but they can never take away your education. My father was a nurse in Jamaica, but he had an ambition to be a doctor in the U.S. When he first came here, he studied during the day and went to work at night. My parents have a strong work ethic. My mom has always worked as a nurse, but at the same time has always been very involved in our lives, helping with our studies and following our careers with interest. Both my sister and I have followed them into the medical profession, and now I'm working as a doctor at the Mount Sinai Hospital in Queens. I don't know if that kind of dedication is genetic or just something that you learn from your parents, but that desire to get ahead, we've certainly both inherited it. The great thing about America is that it gives you the opportunity to live those dreams too.
Hi, Tahir. This is a surprise. How are you?
Oh, hi, Grace. Yeah, I'm doing great, thanks.
Oh, that's good to hear. I haven't seen you for a long time. What have you been up to?
Actually, I've been working abroad for the last 18 months.
Really? Anywhere exciting?
Yeah, in India. I got a contract with an English school doing some teacher training.
Well, it obviously suits you. You're looking very relaxed.
Thanks. It's been a lot of fun. And you? You're looking very well, too. How are things?
Oh, you know, busy as ever. I've been studying for my law exams.
Oh, yes, of course. I remember. Are the classes going okay?
Well, you know, it's a lot of work, but it's going well generally, thanks.
Good. And what about Alyssa? I haven't seen her for a long time either. How's she doing?
Yeah, she's good. We still meet up from time to time. She was asking about you the other day, actually.
Oh, well, I'm only back for a few days. But please give her my best wishes when you see her.
I will.
And the next time I'm back, perhaps we can all get together for coffee or a meal.
That'd be great. How long will you be away for?
Well, I have to do another 2 months over there. Then I'll be back in the U.S. for a while, I hope.
Okay. Well, give me a call when you're back. You have my number, don't you?
Yeah, if it's still the same one.
Yeah, it is. I'll definitely look forward to that. Well, I don't mean to be rude, but I need to get back to class. It was really nice to see you. Hope your trip back goes okay.
Thanks. Well, it was great to see you too, Grace. Take care, and good luck with the exams.
1,
How are things?
2,
How's everything going?
3,
What have you been up to?
4,
I haven't seen you for a long time.
5,
Busy as ever?
6,
I'm in a bit of a hurry.
7,
That'd be great.
8,
Give her my best wishes.
Avatar is, so far, the highest grossing movie of all time, making its producers nearly $3 billion US. It's a science fiction movie. Using a mixture of real and CGI characters, it tells the story of a peaceful tribe living on another planet 150 years in the future. When they are visited by humans looking for a valuable mineral, conflict arises. The original story, which was written by the director James Cameron, works these themes of ecology and man's greed into a powerful narrative, which also contains a romantic element. The imaginative use of special effects and stunning locations, such as the Zhangjiajie National Forest Park in Hunan Province in China, give the movie its unique visual character.
A key moment. It was July 1976, and Niki Lauda was leading the Formula One World Championship. The next race was the German Grand Prix at the Nürburgring, an old 14-kilometer track that ran through the forest in the Eifel Mountains. The track was narrow and bumpy and in poor condition, and many people, including Lauda, considered it unsafe. In places, cars actually took off into the air. A few days before the race, at a meeting of the drivers, Lauda had tried to get the race stopped, but James Hunt had argued for it to go ahead and had won by 1 vote. So, on August 1st at 1 p.m., the cars set off. Hunt from first position and Lauda from second. It had been raining during the morning, and parts of the track were still wet. But as the race progressed, the track began to dry, and the drivers came into the pits to change their wet weather tires. Lauda had lost time by driving more carefully in the difficult conditions, but now, on his new dry weather tires, he began to push harder. Halfway around the track, he came out of a left-hand corner too fast and lost control of the car. It hit a bank on the far side of the road, bounced back, and immediately burst into flames. There were few safety marshals at this part of the track, but fortunately, other drivers were following Lauda's car, and 3 of them stopped and ran to help. They managed to pull him free, but by then, he had been trapped in the intense heat for over a minute. Eventually, a helicopter arrived and transported Lauda to the hospital. He had suffered extreme burns. His wife fainted when she saw his face and was fighting for his life. Meanwhile, the organizers restarted the race, which Hunt went on to win. Most amazingly of all, 6 weeks later, after serious medical treatment, Lauda got back into his racing car at the Italian Grand Prix and finished 4th. As for the old Nürburgring, that was the last Formula One race held there.
Crashed, ran, sat, run, stuck, suffered, got, on, stopped.
Become, became, become. Begin, began, begun. Drink, drank, drunk. Forget, forgot, forgotten. Go, went, gone. Sing, sang, sung. Shine, shone, shone. Strike, struck, struck. Win, won, won.
Mr. Charles Everson and his wife Linda were driving home one Sunday when a cow fell from the sky and landed on the hood of their van. The cow, which had escaped from a local farm, had been grazing too close to the edge of a cliff next to the road when it slipped and plunged 70 meters to the road below. The Eversons were not hurt, but they were taken to the hospital because they were suffering from shock. The cow was not so lucky and had to be put to sleep.
As the 16th minor, Daniel Herrera came out. For Melanie, it was love at first sight. He had a beautiful smile, and she knew he had a good heart. So she contacted him on Facebook, and they started writing to each other. Daniel wasn't married and was living with his mother. After some months, they began speaking on the phone, and Melanie helped Daniel to overcome the trauma he had experienced. In 2012, she flew to Chile to meet Daniel. He fell in love with her too, and in 2014, they got married.
You run PhotoCamp, a visual storytelling program. Can you just explain what the program is about?
Our mission is to mentor and inspire young people to see the power of their own stories and voice through photography and storytelling and writing. The program is aimed at students from under-resourced communities that don't typically have access to this type of workshop. I used to say that we were giving young people a voice, but of course they already have a voice. We're trying to inspire them to see the power of their own voice.
And how do you support them?
Through mentorship. We offer instruction and guidance on how to use the tools, the camera, the pen, the writing, the storytelling, and the way storytelling is done at National Geographic. And then we lean into the stories that they want to tell. Both during and after the camp, we share their work on our Instagram page, on National Geographic blogs. Often it's also shared in local and regional media.
And what kind of stories are people in these photo camps wanting to tell?
Yeah, it's a great question. I've thought so much about this for a book I'm working on, how these themes that young people care about can be tied together. They want to talk about the same stories that anyone else does, about their hopes and dreams for the future and how they want to make their communities better. In Bhutan, where we had been invited by the Bhutan Center for Media and Democracy, our students talked about what it meant that their country was at that time one of the newest democracies in the world. In the US, they've wanted to talk about the issues that connect us rather than those that divide us. In New Zealand, where we worked recently, young people in the Maori and Pacifica communities told us stories about the importance of their ancestors.
And do you have an example of a story that's really moved or struck you?
There are so many. We know that many of our students have developed confidence in their abilities and a deeper understanding of the importance of their own stories. I've kept in close contact with many, many students. One is a young woman from India who has told me that her experience on PhotoCamp really inspired her to go on to university. When we were first introduced, she was super shy, but during a workshop we held, she explored questions about her own life, and it made her realize that she could be an inspiration to others. We often hear people saying about PhotoCamp, oh, you're developing the next photojournalists. I mean, sometimes that happens. Some people go on to become journalists and photographers, but our intent is really more to create a dynamic educational opportunity for youth who typically have not been given access to this kind of program. Another part of this journey that has moved me about the wave of PhotoCamp alumni who have embraced the idea of the PhotoCamp family around the world, they've continued to connect with us and with each other. Several have applied for and received Young Explorer grants from National Geographic and have used those funds to create PhotoCamp-style workshops for other young people, indigenous youth in Bolivia, for example. They are paying it forward and continuing to make the connections of hope and positive action through storytelling.
1.
The program's aimed at students from certain communities.
2.
These youths have not been given access to that opportunity.
3.
When we were first introduced, she was super shy.
4.
We'd been invited by the Bhutan Center for Media and Democracy.
5.
I've thought about how these themes can be tied together. 1.
PhotoCamp was launched in 2003.
2.
Camps have been held all over the world.
3.
A book about the program is being published.
4.
Participants' work will be featured in the book.
5.
Their photos are also shared on Instagram.
The Brothers Grimm. Once upon a time, there lived in Germany 2 brothers who loved a good story. One with mystery and danger, royalty and villains. At school, they met a wise man who led them to a treasure. A library of old books with tales more enchanting than any they had ever heard. Inspired, the brothers began collecting their own stories, listening to the folk tales people told them. Soon, they produced their own treasure, a book of fairy tales that would fascinate millions in faraway lands for generations to come. The Brothers Grimm, Jakob and Wilhelm, named their story collection Children's and Household Tales and published it in Germany in 1812. The collection has been translated into more than 160 languages, from Inupiat in the Arctic to Swahili in Africa. The Japanese have built 2 theme parks devoted to the tales, and in the United States, the Grimm's collection helped make Disney a media giant. The humble Grimms would have been embarrassed by such fame. During their lifetime, the collection sold only a few copies in Germany, and the early editions were not even aimed at children. They had no illustrations, and scholarly footnotes took up almost as much space as the tales themselves. Jakob and Wilhelm Grimm viewed themselves as students of local folklore, who were trying to save the stories of oral storytellers from disappearing. As in many other countries, storytelling had been popular in Germany long before the Grimm's time. During long winter nights, people would keep each other entertained with tales of adventure, romance, and magic. To write their stories, the Grimms interviewed about 40 such storytellers who visited them at their house in Kassel. Although the brothers claimed that they were just keeping records of tales, Wilhelm continued to improve and reshape the stories up to the final edition of 1857. In an effort to make them more acceptable to children's parents, he stressed the moral of each tale. The collection, he said, should be used as a manual of manners. Keep your promises, don't talk to strangers, work hard, obey your parents. Yet, despite all of Wilhelm's editing, often the unpleasant details of the stories were left untouched. The cruel treatment of children, Hansel and Gretel are put in a cage by a witch and then fattened to be ready for eating, and the violent punishments handed out to the story's villains. In the original Snow White, the evil stepmother is forced to dance in red-hot iron shoes until she falls down dead, are still too much for some parents. So, why are they still so popular? Some suggest that it is because they are about our struggle for happiness. Cinderella is a classic rags to riches story, where a poor young girl finds her wealthy prince. Beauty and the Beast is about a girl with such a loving nature that she sees past the monstrous looks and bad temper of the Beast and finds the good in him. The Grimm's tales were part of a storytelling tradition, not just in Germany, but worldwide, which often gave people an escape from the hard realities of daily life and also hope for a better future. As for the brothers themselves, they just wished to retell these exciting stories accurately. In doing so, they ensured that the Grimm's fairy tales would live happily ever after.
1.
The bus broke down on the highway, and we were miles from the next exit. It was a bit scary with all the traffic whizzing past.
So what happened?
Luckily, another bus was passing about 15 minutes later, and we all transferred to that one.
That must have been a relief.
2.
My pants got caught on the door handle, and as I walked away, they tore.
That sounds awful.
It was. I had to walk right back across the restaurant to our table with my hands over the hole.
How embarrassing.
3.
I forced the key trying to turn it in the door lock, and it snapped.
Oh no, what did you do?
I had to call a locksmith out. It cost me $120, but I didn't have any choice.
Yeah, a similar thing happened to me once. There's nothing else you can do.
4.
The elevator got stuck between the 18th and 19th floors, and two of the people inside completely panicked.
What a nightmare.
It was. Then, the lights in the elevator went off, and one of them started screaming.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I'm terrified of small spaces.
5.
I was pumping up my bicycle tire outside my apartment, and it burst with a really loud bang.
Poor you.
Yeah, and a guy was walking by with his groceries, and he jumped about 3 feet in the air 'cause it was so loud. He held on to his groceries, though.
That was lucky.
6.
My computer froze while I was on a video call, and I'd just opened my mouth to say something.
Oh, I hate it when that happens.
It was actually really embarrassing. I clicked the video icon to switch off the picture.
Yeah, good move.
Well, you'd think. But that didn't work either. So everyone was just left looking at me with this shocked expression on my face.
I bet that was awkward for everyone.
1.
That must have been a relief.
2.
So what'd you do? 1.
What a nightmare.
2.
That's awkward.
3.
How embarrassing.
4.
Really? That's odd.
5.
Good move.
6.
A similar thing happened to me.
Reverse graffiti. The idea of graffiti is to find a blank wall and spray paint an image on it that expresses a particular message. Some graffiti artists use pictures, some use words, some both. The policy of most city authorities is to remove graffiti because it's often painted without formal permission and lots of people object to it, unless it's in a less visible part of the city, like old industrial areas. The principle of reverse graffiti, a growing movement of recent years, is different. Reverse graffiti artists take a dirty wall and make images by removing the dirt. Each artist has their own style, but they all share a common aim: to draw attention to the pollution in our cities. Brazilian artist Alexandre Orion, the first artist to use this technique on a large scale, turned the walls of a car tunnel in Sao Paulo into a provocative mural. By scraping away the dirt caused by pollution inside the tunnel, Orion created an image of white skulls. His intention was to raise awareness of the damage pollution causes to public health. Every motorist sits in the comfort of their car, but they don't give any consideration to the cost that has for the environment, and ultimately for them too, says Orion. The city authorities in Sao Paulo were presented with a dilemma. Since Orion hadn't committed a crime, two courses of action were available to them: to remove the graffiti or to leave it. Either option seemed unsatisfactory, but in the end, they decided that any graffiti was wrong and that they should remove Orion's work. In other words, they decided to finish the job Orion had started of cleaning the tunnel by removing all traces of dirt. Encouraged by this, Orion continued making reverse graffiti on both sides of the tunnel. The city authorities then decided to take extreme action. They didn't just clean the whole tunnel, they cleaned every other car tunnel in Sao Paulo.
Okay, Will, I know as an artist yourself, you have strong feelings about what art is and isn't. So I'm going to give you some statements about what various people say art should be, and I want to know which you agree with. Okay?
Okay.
So, here's the first one then. All art should contain something pleasing for the viewer.
No, not necessarily. The artist's intention might be to make you feel uncomfortable, not to give you a warm feeling.
Okay. What about this? Art should involve some hard work on the part of the artist.
That's more interesting. But the answer is still not necessarily. Monet did some paintings in 5 minutes.
Well, then that links to the next one, perhaps. To be an artist, you need to possess certain technical skills.
Well, you often hear people say things like, my 3-year-old daughter could have done that, meaning there's no technical skill involved. But an artwork doesn't have to be technically difficult. It could just be a clever idea.
Art should make a social or a political point. Without either message, it's not true art.
No, certainly not. Is the Mona Lisa political? I don't think so.
What about this one? The viewer shouldn't have to make any effort to understand a work of art.
No, I disagree with that. The artist has made an effort to produce something, so the viewer should make an effort to understand it.
Okay. And lastly, there's no such thing as bad art.
Yes, I agree. My role is to present an idea in a visual form. Your role is to give yourself time to look at it. Then you can say either, yes, I really like that, or no, that doesn't do anything for me. But you can't say, that's not art, or it's bad art.
During the COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdowns that resulted from it, the majority of people were prevented from doing normal daily activities. The upside was that it gave people an opportunity to participate in creative activities that they hadn't had enough time for previously. things like cooking or drawing or playing an instrument. There's plenty of evidence to show that participating in cultural and creative activities brings people closer together. It's good for communities. There's also now a lot of evidence that it's good for mental health and well-being, especially for those living in cities who tend to be more affected by stress.
I believe that some initiatives launched during the pandemic might provide a model for how to encourage greater public participation in the arts in the future. Because a large number of these initiatives were about popularizing art and culture, and generally that's not an easy thing to do. Activities fall into two categories: active participation, i.e., being a creator, and passive participation, which basically means being a consumer of art and culture. The Getty Museum Global Challenge was a bit of both. People had to choose a famous painting or artwork, study it, and then recreate it using a few everyday objects from around their home. They then took a photo of their recreation and sent it to the museum. There was no winner, but several entries were posted on the Getty website. One creator initiative that shows how people with little experience of something can contribute to making something greater was the Quarantine Quilt Project. Embraced by a lot of communities around the world, individuals created quilt squares, which they sent in to be assembled into larger quilts. A program in Morelia, Mexico, shows how we can encourage public participation and support artists at the same time. Called Culture in Your Home, the city's initiative employed local artists to run online workshops in popular guitar, singing, dance, storytelling, even parkour. Participants then sent in 5-minute videos of their own creations inspired by what they'd learned. These were posted on a website so others could see what can be achieved with just a small amount of input. There were also some great ideas for encouraging people to be consumers of art. One was in Montevideo, Uruguay, where a charity added a book to read to each of their regular food and clothing baskets, or necessity baskets, sent to people in need. Another was the Culture to the Courtyards project in Kaunas in Lithuania, where the city made up for the lack of opportunity to go out to events by bringing them to the residents of apartment blocks. People could stand on their balconies and enjoy a show of music or dance or poetry in the courtyard below.
1,
A bit of free time.
2,
A lot of information.
3,
A huge amount of interest.
4,
Lots of people.
5,
A small number of galleries.
6.
A lack of good opportunities.
The emotional power of music. On average, humans spend 1/10 of their waking lives listening to music. It is deeply rooted in all cultures across the world, and yet, unlike food or shelter, it is not something we actually need in order to survive. So, what exactly is music for? People generally agree on what music is: sound that conveys emotion. But there are several theories about its function. One theory is that it was invented for dancing at special occasions. Another is that it is simply a form of entertainment. Some scientists believe it developed as a way to help us find a romantic partner. But the most likely explanation, and one that underpins all these others, is that it functions as a way of bringing people together. According to Jeremy Montague, former lecturer at Oxford University, music, with its power both to soothe and excite us, leads to emotional bonding between individuals and groups of people. There is a lot of evidence to support this explanation. We are all familiar with the musical tones that mothers use to connect with their babies. Baby talk is a feature of every culture around the world. Many of us have experienced a heightened sense of togetherness when listening to a concert with hundreds of other people. Researchers have even shown that a crowd's heartbeats can synchronize in such moments. We also know how a rousing anthem can unite a group of sports fans. There is nothing on earth, says a Welsh rugby fan, like hearing the Welsh national anthem inside the Principality Stadium, sung by 74,500 people, with the majority singing at the top of their lungs. I get goosebumps every time. We bond as groups through various genres of music. Through dance music, folk music with its strong cultural traditions, and through pop songs as we sing along to them. Music gives a verbal message, an increased emotional charge. Rap and hip-hop began in America as music with a social message. The songs described the lived experiences of mainly Black inhabitants of inner cities who lacked opportunities to get ahead in life. It has since been adopted by some musicians all over the world as a means to express the injustices that people in poorer communities feel. And even when the rappers themselves become rich and famous, the lyrics retain an autobiographical element. Emotional bonding is not just a group event. It can take place between you and the artist when you have your headphones on. Have you ever wondered why we like sitting alone listening to sad songs when we experience loss or a breakup? You would imagine it would make us even sadder. But in fact, we are attracted to the music by a feeling of empathy, the sense that someone else is sharing our loss with us. Psychologists Annemieke van den Tal and Jane Edwards say it helps us regulate our negative feelings and can even lift us out of them. While music might not be a physical necessity, it clearly plays an important role in satisfying our emotional and psychological needs. And, like other ancestral bonding mechanisms, such as conversation, laughter, and play, it helps us function as social beings.
Hey, Felix, how was The Lion King?
I loved it, actually, and I'm not really a fan of musicals. Do you like them?
Not really, no. I can't enjoy the music in them. With a few exceptions, perhaps West Side Story and Grease. They're both great. So what was so good about it?
Well, it's absolutely stunning. The opening scene particularly. All the animals, giraffes, wildebeest, zebra, antelope, come onto the stage together to set the scene at the beginning. And the costumes are amazing. They're difficult to describe, really. You can see the people in them, but they seem to move like real animals. Everyone in the audience was spellbound.
Wow. And is the story the same as in the Disney movie? 'Cause in that there were some rather annoying characters, like that bird who was supposed to be there for comic effect. What was its name?
Zazu. Oh, I liked him, but I know what you mean. Those kinds of characters usually get on my nerves. But anyway, that wasn't a problem with this production. It's more adult than the movie. As I say, it was excellent.
And what about the music? Did you like it?
More than I expected. It's got an African feel to it, so it kind of works with the story. Did you know? It was written by Elton John, and I have a lot of respect for him.
Oh, okay. Well, I might check it out then. Were the tickets reasonable?
They're not cheap. I really dislike how high the ticket prices for musicals and theater these days have become. It seems completely wrong. But I didn't mind for this one. I thought it was money well spent.
Different. Everyone. Generally.
Beautifully. Chocolate. Interesting. Camera. Ordinary. Favorite.
I think this will be revolutionary. Imagine, instead of your geography teacher showing you photos of a volcano and explaining with diagrams how it erupts, they'll be able to take you right to the edge of one and even inside one. You'll be experiencing nature firsthand.
One idea is that families will all be able to get together in a virtual house to enjoy a movie or play a board game together. Each person will have made their own avatar of themselves. So, you'll be imitating real family time, but obviously no need to travel. I'm not sure if I find that idea weird or not.
Do you know, I worry that kids won't be able to tell if they're in the real world or in a virtual world. They might be persuaded they need to change the way they look or dress. Or worse, they might buy something thinking it's part of a game. I'm sure there are advertisers out there waiting to take advantage.
Reasons to be hopeful. What reasons can we find to be optimistic about the future? Perhaps the most important, according to American writer and editor Kevin Kelly, is knowing that we can make good things happen because we've done it in the past. Take electric lighting. It transformed our cities in the early 20th century. 100 years later, scientists needed to find a more energy-efficient form of lighting, and they came up with LED lights. Of course, merely wanting something to happen doesn't guarantee it will. But if we don't first believe it can happen, it never will. The history of technological progress shows us that the first step is imagining a better future. The world is facing enormous problems: social inequality, a growing population, water shortages, and the global climate crisis. The consequences of these things? People will go hungry. Some will have to migrate. Some might even begin to fight over limited resources. Whichever way you look at it, it's not going to be easy. But Kelly thinks there are other reasons we should be optimistic. The second reason, he says, is that progress takes time. We notice the bad things that happen on a day-to-day basis, but we seem less aware that over time, things tend to get better. We listen to news stories telling us that the government is going to increase taxes or that there is about to be a flu epidemic. But we don't notice the story telling us that after 50 years of fighting malaria, Argentina has been declared malaria-free. Progress is often about the things we don't see or hear. In this case, about the thousands of people who didn't die from malaria. The third reason is that problems bring opportunities. In the 20th century, a big problem for industrialized nations was how to source large amounts of energy. No problem, said experts. We'll just use nature's reserves of oil, coal, and gas. But overusing those fossil fuels resulted in a new problem: climate change. Now, to address this, countries are looking for ways to transition to cleaner sources of energy. Each problem has brought with it opportunities for a better future, and humanity has consistently shown that we are willing to take on the challenge.
Writer,
Writer,
editor,
editor,
limited,
limited,
future,
future,
energy,
energy,
better,
better,
social inequality,
social inequality.
1,
8 billion.
2,
An internet site.
3,
A 21st birthday.
4,
Great poverty.
5,
Another reality.
6.
Generate energy.
I'm sorry you didn't get the job, Basma. But you're going to another interview tomorrow, I hear. I'm sure that'll go better.
No, I'm not. I'm going to cancel it. I don't feel in the mood anymore. I think I'm just bad at interviews. Perhaps I'll try and apply for something less ambitious.
Oh, come on. You are very well qualified. If you project the right energy at the interview, you might get the job. You never know.
And if I don't, I'll feel even worse.
No, you're not going to feel worse because no one feels bad if they did their best.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Okay, I'll go to the interview then. Thanks, Keiko. I really appreciate the support.
Part 1.
Let's look now at one of the less talked about areas of technology, that is to say, material science, and what hope it can offer us for the future.
Thank you. Yes, the speed at which material science advances is amazing. But we don't really notice. We take it for granted that our clothes are going to keep out the rain but still be able to breathe, or that they're incredibly light but still keep us warm. We think nothing of a phone that can store a terabyte of data and fit easily in our pockets. But I'll give you an amazing statistic. If you built such a phone using only the materials that were available in the 1980s, it would be 14 meters tall and cost $110 million.
That is incredible.
Yeah. Materials science is constantly looking for materials that perform better, are more efficient, more sustainable, stronger, lighter. And that's really important. A recent article said that we're adding unsustainable materials, concrete is just one example, to the Earth at an incredible rate. It's estimated that by 2040 we will have added 2.2 trillion tons of material. That's twice the weight of all living things on Earth. 1.3 kilograms. 2030. 13 million. The 1960s. $12 billion. 5 megabytes of data.
Part 2.
Wow. And what are the new materials that might get us out of this cycle?
That's a great question. Some are new, but many of them are materials known to us already being put to a new use. I'll give you an example. A school in the U.S. is developing something called hemp rebar.
Rebar? As in the stuff they use to strengthen concrete?
Exactly. They hope we'll soon be using hemp, which is a plant-based material traditionally used to make rope, instead of the steel bars that you find today in reinforced concrete. Another really exciting material comes from mushrooms. Its thin root-like structures, called mycelium, are like fibers that can be bound together. They can be dried to form very strong structures. One use is construction materials, such as support columns in buildings. Mycelium can also be made into a kind of leather. It's already being used by the car maker Kia, and other manufacturers say they'll be making car seats out of it in the near future.
I guess mushrooms are a fantastic resource because they're so easy to grow. And what about completely new materials? You mentioned to me earlier a new kind of plastic.
Ah, yes, 2-DPA1. It's an entirely new type of plastic polymer developed by the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. It's very thin and has incredible properties. It's twice as strong as steel, but with 1/6 of the volume, so very light, as you can imagine. I think within 5 or 6 years it will have replaced paint on the bodies of phones and laptops, making them unbreakable.
But it's still plastic.
Yes, but very durable and ultimately recyclable too. So what's not to like?
Appropriate technology. The term appropriate technology was first used by E.F. Schumacher in his 1970s book, Small is Beautiful. Do not start with technology and see what it can do for people, he argued. Instead, find out what people are doing and then help them to do it better. According to Schumacher, it did not matter whether the technological solutions were simple or sophisticated. What was important was that they were long-term, practical, and in the hands of the people who used them. This view had already been suggested by Mahatma Gandhi in the 1930s. He claimed that some of the more expensive technologies promoted by Western nations did not represent the right route to progress for his homeland, India. He wanted affordable technology that would lead to greater social equality. Technology that could empower the villagers of India and help them become self-reliant. His favourite machines were the sewing machine, a device invented out of love, he said, and the bike, a means of transportation that he used all his life. Appropriate technology suits the needs and abilities of the user and also takes into account environmental and cost considerations. For this reason, it is often found in rural communities in developing countries. Examples include solar-powered lamps that bring light to areas with no electricity, water purifiers that work by simply sucking through a straw, the pot-in-pot refrigerator, centuries old but patented by Mohammed Ba Abba of Nigeria, which keeps food cool without electricity, and the Hippo roller. The roller is a large plastic barrel that holds 90 litres of water with a pulling handle. Because of it, many people in rural areas globally no longer have to walk miles to and from a distant well, carrying heavy vessels on their heads. As soon as they gave me one, says Matamizi Kibi, resident of Belfast Village in South Africa, my life changed. But appropriate technology does not always mean low tech. There are many examples of high technology solutions being applied where other forms of infrastructure, an established highway or telecommunications network, are lacking. In Malawi, fixed-wing drones are now used regularly to deliver medicines and healthcare across the country, as Tony Mwangi, drone pilot, explains. With drones, we are able to transport blood samples of young infants in remote areas of the country from a small hospital without any labs or perhaps without electricity. And we can transport these over 100 kilometres to a more advanced facility for diagnosis and then return the results by drone again to the small hospital. Finally, Appropriate technology needs to be culturally appropriate. In other words, it needs to fit in with people's customs and social practices. This cannot always be guaranteed, as in the case of a device for shelling corn developed to help manual workers in a Guatemalan village. Some engineers who were visiting the village observed how labour-intensive and slow it was to shell corn by hand. So they designed a simple mechanical device to do the job more quickly. The new device certainly saved time, but after a few weeks, the predominantly female workforce returned to the old manual method. Why? Because they enjoyed the time they spent hand shelling. It gave them an opportunity to chat and exchange news with each other. It is exactly this kind of sensitivity to what is appropriate that Gandhi and Schumacher, in their different ways, were trying to highlight.
1.
Oh, hi, it's Jamie. We've rented your apartment for the weekend. I'm at the door now.
Okay, is there a problem?
Yeah, the passcode doesn't seem to work. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
What number do you have?
B6501Y.
That's the right number. Have you tried pressing C first before entering the code? That resets the system before you begin punching the code in.
No, one moment. I'll give that a try. Yeah, great, that works. We're in now. Thanks so much.
No worries at all. Let me know if you have any other issues. Hope you won't. And enjoy your stay.
2.
Yes, can I help you?
Hi. Yes, I hope so. So I'm trying to transfer the data from this phone to my new phone, and the contacts, the photos and WhatsApp messages are not a problem. That's all backed up on the cloud. But I can't get the SMS messages to move across.
You should be able to do that using Google Drive. Do you have a Google account?
Yes, but could you just show me how?
Sure. If you could just give me 5 minutes to finish this, I'll be with you.
3.
Leia, are you any good with printers? I have a document I need to print, sign, and return by tomorrow.
No, not really. What's the problem?
I haven't used my printer for years, and it won't work. All the lights are flashing.
Maybe the paper's jammed? Or perhaps the ink's dried up. Can't you just sign it digitally?
No, it's an official document that needs a wet signature.
Oh, I see. Well, if you email the document to my work address, I'll print it for you there. I'm going in this afternoon.
Really? That's so kind. I'll do that then. Thank you.
Verbs. Adjust. Respond. Open. Connect. Repair. Suggest. Nouns. Printer. Account. Problem. Data. Machine. Signal.
Begin. Collect. Enjoy. Issue. Keyboard. Laptop. Manage. Message. Prefer. Provide. Replace. Service. Undo.
Kachi Lodge is all about the views. You can look across a huge white plain of salt broken into hexagonal shapes. If you go in the rainy season, say late January, then a layer of water covers the salt, and the whole thing becomes one enormous mirror. There's no experience quite like it, it takes your breath away. So you don't really have to plan anything else. In the day, you can walk across the flats, or there are bicycles you can use. Obviously, there's not much wildlife around, but if you're lucky, you'll see flamingos. You can also hike up Tunupa volcano nearby. At night, just watch the stars. The night sky is incredible there, and because the lodges have big windows, you can just watch from your bed.
Staycations. If you're like me, you might be surprised to find out that staycation can even mean staying in your own place. I used to think it just meant not going abroad. It might not sound like a proper vacation, but don't be too quick to judge. As a concept, home-based vacations can be very attractive. You can do the same things that you would do in a more distant place: sightseeing, exploring an unknown area, eating out, going swimming, but you don't have to spend a fortune to do them. You could even camp in your own yard. Anything goes, really. You just shouldn't go to work. Finding things to do on a staycation can stimulate the imagination, too. For her vacation, Karen Ash, who lives in New York, decided not to go to Japan as originally planned, but instead took a week-long Japanese vacation in her own city. She bought postcards and souvenirs at a Japanese market, admired bonsai plants, ate ramen, and even spoke Japanese when ordering, all without leaving New York. Her itinerary also involved participating in a traditional Japanese tea ceremony, attending a taiko drumming concert, and watching Japanese soap operas. I don't expect everyone has as much opportunity as Karen to recreate foreign travel in their city, but it gives an idea of what's possible. In recent years, many more virtual tours of the world's most amazing sights have become available. You could live stream views of the Northern Lights from Manitoba in Canada, or take a guided tour of the Great Wall of China, all from the comfort of your living room. If active vacations are more your kind of thing, why not try out a new sport for a week, like fishing or paddleboarding? Or, if you want to be active and also help others, volunteer at a local youth club. Volunteering vacations can be physically rewarding and educational. Struan Birch volunteered at his local national park around Loch Lomond in Scotland. One of the things I love the most is the incredible variety in activities, from rebuilding paths to doing bird surveys, he says. Finally, let's not ignore the obvious benefits of home-based staycations. There are none of the problems associated with travel. No packing to do, no long drives or delays at the airport. I don't know about you, but I'm certainly going to give it a try.
We're just planning a trip to northern Italy, and I'm thinking there are lots of things I want to see. But I want to try and avoid the crowds, if possible. I mean, how do you get around that problem, Kai?
Yeah, it's tricky. I remember going canoeing with a friend at the Pont d'Arc in France. It's a beautiful stretch of river, and it was a lovely, calm, early summer's day. But by the time we got out onto the water, there were about 50 other canoes all in a small area of river under the bridge. It kind of killed the moment.
It's difficult, isn't it? And if you look at it from the point of view of the visited place, it puts huge pressure on the environment and all the local resources, like water, that have to support the tourists. It can't be much fun if you're a local, can it? But why do you think it's like that now? Are there lots more people traveling?
Partly. But I think it's mainly the internet. People follow the recommendations on Instagram and TripAdvisor of the best places to go and best things to do. No one wants to miss out when everyone is saying this is a must-do experience.
Okay, but surely people get wise to that after a while. Don't they want to have a more individual experience?
Well, probably. But the reality is often different from the image they're presented with. Like with natural beauty spots, what you usually see is one or two people enjoying a magical moment in a beautiful setting.
So does anyone know what the solution is?
Have you heard of undertourism?
No, I've heard of over-tourism, too many tourists visiting a place. I guess under-tourism means too few tourists visiting, doesn't it?
Yes, exactly. It means places that get neglected by travelers. The idea is that we try and balance things out a bit by thinking more carefully about where and when we travel. Tourism's not a bad thing. It can bring a big boost to the local economy. It just needs to be directed in the right way, to places that need it, rather than ones that are already so popular that the environment is suffering and the locals have become dependent on tourism. Like they've given up other kinds of work.
Yeah, I get it. So can you tell me, practically speaking, what that means for my trip to Italy?
Okay, let's say you're planning to go to Florence. You try and stay somewhere off the beaten path, like a smaller town 15 kilometers away, and book your accommodations directly with a local operator, not through a big international one, so your host gets more of your money. Then you could travel into Florence by bus for a day. But also you'll find out other things to do in the local area. You'll definitely meet more people that way and have a more unique experience. But if you really want to stay in the city, choose a time that's not so busy, like February. It keeps costs down too.
That's interesting. I'll look into it. Do you know if October is busy?
Probably not so much.
But why do you think it's like that now? Are there lots more people traveling? 6.
It's difficult, isn't it?
7.
I guess it means too few tourists visiting, doesn't it?
1.
It's better to go to less visited places, isn't it?
2.
Surely he isn't going to give up his job in order to travel, is he?
3.
Can you explain how you avoided the crowds in Venice?
4.
It costs a lot to go on a cruise, doesn't it?
5.
Didn't it rain a lot in England?
6.
You've never been to America, have you?
7.
Do you know if this bus goes downtown?
8.
You didn't forget your passport, did you?
Unusual places to stay. Built in 1905, Karasta Naval Jail in Latvia originally housed badly behaved sailors. Now a hotel, it offers guests an opportunity to stay overnight on real prisoners' benches and mattresses. The hotel's website goes on to describe Karasta proudly as unfriendly, unheated, and uncomfortable. They are not lying. This is more a reality jail experience than a hotel. Reception is a dark corridor where a former prison guard explains the rules to you. No luggage except a toothbrush, no attempts to escape. And then fires his gun in the air to show you he is serious. After a meal of bread and sweet black tea, guests are given 5 minutes to shower before making their own bed of a wooden bench and thin mattress. Sound unpleasant? It is. Mind you, for around $40 per night, what do you expect? Do you want to step back in time to America's Wild West? Virginia City in Montana, a former gold rush town of the 1860s, was a ghost town until it began to be restored for tourists in the 1950s. Owned largely by the state government, the town now operates as a large open-air museum. Nearby is the Nevada City Hotel and Cabins, where you can sit out on the porch and enjoy life as a cowboy. The rooms feature period furniture, and downstairs there's a real Wild West saloon. The cabins look extremely basic from the outside, but inside they have large double beds and private bathrooms. Bear in mind that if you stay during the week, you might be disappointed. The city only really comes to life on the weekends, when actors walk around dressed as sheriffs, cowboys, and gold prospectors. If you have even more unusual accommodations in mind, why not try a cave hotel? Cold, damp, dark? It doesn't have to be. The caves of Sassi di Matera in Italy are Bronze Age homes that were given a makeover in the Renaissance with vaulted ceilings, doors, and shutters. More recently, until the 1950s, they were the homes of local people who lived there with their animals. But now they have been renovated to provide hospitality in a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Although visitors to La Grotte della Civita must do without television or fridges, the rooms are comfortably furnished with antique furniture. Mine had a beautiful oak chest of drawers. The owners wanted the caves to still feel authentic, so they have left as many original features as possible, like the iron rings that farmers once used to tie up their animals. Prices are much more modern, though, ranging from $300 to $900 per night. Robots are becoming more common in hotels around the world, performing roles such as room service, laundry collection, and some cleaning tasks. The owners of the Hen-Na hotels in Japan, South Korea, and the US have taken things a step further, creating a space where guests can have minimal human interaction. Robots check you in and take payment from you. The hotel restaurant offers ready-made dishes from a self-service automat, and there are automats selling slippers and pajamas. One robot transports your suitcase to the elevator, while another cleans your windows. It is all very comfortable and convenient, but personally, I prefer a bit of human interaction. A warm smile and local tips from a human receptionist. A robot in my room that can tell me the weather forecast isn't quite the same. However, there are some nice touches that other hotels could learn from. When you unpack your clothes and hang them up, the closet automatically steams them and removes the creases.
Would you like something more to eat, Eduardo?
No, that was delicious, thank you. I'm really full now, and I wasn't expecting you to feed me, too.
It's no problem. You'll need the energy for your ride to Istanbul tomorrow.
Yeah, I will. I can't believe that'll be the end of my trip. Well, not quite. I'm meeting a friend and we're spending a few days in Istanbul before flying back home to Lisbon.
That sounds great. And how are you getting to Istanbul? Do you know your route already?
Yeah, I'm just going to follow the D020 all the way. People told me it's direct and not too bad for traffic.
Well, it's okay until you get close to Istanbul, but I wouldn't recommend it after that. It gets really busy, lots of big trucks on the road.
Oh, really? How would you suggest I get there?
Well, you could just get a taxi. I'm joking. If it was me, I think the best thing is to turn left just after Mithatpasa, heading east, in the direction of Kemerburgaz. Then you keep going on that road as far as Sarıyer, which is on the coast. From there, it's only about 20 kilometers and a much nicer ride through forest. It's beautiful, in fact.
Is it hilly?
It's a bit up and down, but not too bad, and honestly, a much quieter road.
Okay, and from Sarıyer?
Again, just avoid the main road, the one into Istanbul. Look out for the smaller coastal road. I mean, just stick to the coast and then follow that all the way down to the center of Istanbul.
Okay, that's really helpful. I'll put that route into my Maps app this evening.
Oh, good luck. I really wanted to ride some of the way with you, but I have to work tomorrow, so I just...
Oh, that would have been great, but don't worry. Honestly, I'll be fine, really.
1.
It's okay until you get close to Istanbul, but I wouldn't recommend it after that.
2.
I wanted to ride some of the way with you, but I have to work tomorrow.
Building wind farms is a big part of Spain's plan to expand its renewable energy production and to enhance its reputation as an environmentally friendly country. Renewables already account for over 45% of Spanish electricity generation, and the target is to reach 74% by 2030. The owners of the wind farms in Monegros say that such farms also boost the local economy by bringing jobs. Agriculture hasn't thrived in the area recently because of a lack of rain, but not everyone agrees. Some people think big wind farms and solar farms spoil the landscape and harm wildlife. They say they only benefit people living in the cities.
Where next for Dubai? From its beginnings as a sleepy fishing village inhabited by fishermen and traders, Dubai has mushroomed into a modern metropolis of over 3 million people. Sheikh Rashid bin Zayed Al Maktoum imagined building a great city back in the 1950s. It has exceeded his dreams. A city of firsts, it now claims to have the world's tallest high-rise building, the 828-meter Burj Khalifa, the world's largest shopping mall, fountain, and theme park, the longest driverless metro line, and the world's busiest airport outside the U.S. Sheikh Rashid's son, Mohammed, has continued developing Dubai and helped it become the Middle East's richest and most visited city. But where does it hope to go from here? In an age where being the best also involves being the greenest, how does an energy-hungry city in the desert fit in? In just a short time frame, Dubai's skyscrapers, luxury hotels, and highway intersections sprang out of the desert. Now it supports a big population and a steady influx of tourists. In response to these changes, the Sheikh has set a new goal. He wants Dubai to become a green city, taking 50% of its energy from renewable sources by 2050. However, it is one thing to decide to be sustainable. It's another thing to make it happen, especially in a place where there is little water or soil for growing plants, and with temperatures that can reach 50 degrees Celsius in summer. Despite this, a section of the city called Sustainable City is already showing the way. Here, houses have solar roofs, generating clean electricity, and cool garden pods where fruit and vegetables are watered using recycled or gray water from the home. In fact, if you own a home here, the government expects you to grow vegetables for the community. And so it is that Dubai embarks on a new chapter in its history, its path to sustainability. And Dubai's past suggests that when it chooses to do something, it finds a way.
In the Atacama Desert of Chile, one of the driest places on Earth, lie two towns, Humberston and Santa Laura. Here, you'll find a theater, an iron swimming pool made from the bottom of a ship, a hotel, a grocery store complete with price lists, numerous houses, and a town clock that's meant to tell you the right time but is stuck at 4 p.m. One thing you won't find, however, is any people. But this wasn't always the case. Thousands of saltpeter workers from Chile, Peru, and Bolivia lived and worked here for more than 60 years. Saltpeter, for anyone who remembers doing chemistry at school, is potassium nitrate, a commonly used fertilizer. From 1872, the saltpeter works at Humberston provided fertilizer to farmers throughout North America, South America, and Europe. Economic development connects people to places. Car workers to Nagoya, Japan, wheat farmers to central Ukraine, computer coders to Silicon Valley in the US. Towns and cities grow up around certain industries. Sometimes these places go on to develop other industries. At other times, a particular industry is the only reason for the existence of a town. And when the work dries up and the factories stop producing, development of the town also stops. In extreme cases, they become ghost towns. Housing workers for the mining and processing of the saltpeter in the Atacama Desert meant having to build 2 new towns from scratch. These are now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The desert environment was extremely tough to live in, but the company tried to make it easier for the workers by providing the facilities. The theater, stores, and houses that visitors can still see today. Because of the dry climate, they are all still well preserved. In fact, when you stop to look at the machines in the factories themselves, you can imagine they would still work today. So why aren't they working today? Various people had tried making nitrogen synthetically, and by the 1920s, the process had been perfected in Germany. Chile's leading position in the fertilizer market was badly affected. It started to decline, and in 1960, the Humberston site was abandoned, leaving us this extraordinary and beautiful monument to economic development.
Industry. Fertilizer. Facilities. Development. Processing. Perfected. Factory.
1.
Said. Head.
2.
Machine. Seen.
3.
Cases. Places.
4.
Certain. Urban.
5.
Decline. Resign.
6.
Tough. Stuff.
Adolescence through teenage eyes. Society can't make up its mind about teenagers and adolescents. On the one hand, we see independent spirits creating a new path to the future. On the other, awkward individuals unable to communicate with adults. As one teen put it, too old in some situations, but not old enough in others. The idea of adolescence, a distinct phase where a person is neither child nor adult, is relatively new, as is the word teenager itself. 150 years ago, most people in their teens went out to work to help support the family. But when full-time schooling became more established in the 1950s, young people began to feel less of a sense of duty to their parents and more to their own wishes and values. And so, a new social group was born. Businesses were quick to recognize the commercial opportunity that this new group presented. They could use trend-setting teenagers as influencers. At the same time, many adults, and parents especially, struggled to understand them, while teenagers themselves often complained that they were not understood. Many articles have been written about teenagers, most of them from an adult perspective, and most, in my experience, are rather negative. University College London's Institute of Education tried to correct this imbalance by asking teenagers for their views of adolescence. The findings were more positive. Asked what adolescence was, several defined it as a time when you build your social network. You start to spend more time with friends than with family, said one. Another remarked that it was a time where you find out more about yourself and what kind of people you want to be friends with. Investing in future relationships seems to make sense. We enter a world made by our parents, but we will live, and thrive, we hope, in a world remade by our peers. The importance teenagers attach to relationships with peers can be seen when they react strongly to falling out with a friend or being excluded from a peer group. The second theme to come out of the research was that adolescence was a time for experimentation and growth. A time to make my own decisions and mistakes, said one girl. Others welcomed the opportunity to go out by yourself, to live your best life, and to be independent. Trying out new things is key to expanding your world. Teenagers experiment and seek out new, even risky experiences because they value the rewards this might bring. A willingness to take risks can also be linked to an ability to adapt to new situations. This is something all teenagers have to do when they leave home or start a new job. But what of the awkwardness and the difficulties of adolescence? The survey showed that adolescence is not seen as a negative stage by teenagers. Rather, it is a time for learning, even if there are uncertainties about how to act. However, it seems that for many teenagers, parents still do not properly understand them. One 17-year-old summed it up well. The bad thing about being my age is being expected to act like an adult at college or work, but being treated like a child at home.
Electric vehicles. The world is saved. Electric vehicles are like so many technological solutions to climate change. They suit rich people very well, but they ignore the environmental impact on the rest. Electric vehicles are not a good solution, and I will explain why. Firstly, at around $35,000 for the cheapest family-sized car, only rich people can afford to buy them. Secondly, people say that they are clean, but actually, if the electricity they use comes from a fossil fuel energy plant, the benefit is minimal. More significantly, the mining and processing of the minerals needed to make electric car batteries, like copper and lithium, has a big environmental impact, often on poorer countries where the minerals are found. In summary, this is a selfish solution for the rich. I think we can all agree that improved public transportation is a much better solution for everyone.
I'm going to argue in favor of electric vehicles. Quite honestly, it's naive to think that everyone is going to take public transportation. People want independent transportation, so we need a green alternative to traditional vehicles. Electric vehicles are that alternative. The fact is that they are cleaner. And I'd like to take issue with what you said about the environmental impact of batteries. Because even if we take the biggest batteries, in less than 18 months of use, an electric car will do less environmental harm than a traditional car. So I'm not worried about that. I'm more concerned that people will use arguments against electric cars as an excuse to continue polluting with oil. Nearly 5 million people a year die from illnesses caused by air pollution, and much of that is caused by cars and trucks. Using electric cars would save those lives. What's more,
1.
The fact is that they are cleaner.
2.
Quite honestly, I don't accept that.
3.
I'd like to take issue with what you said.
4.
I'm more concerned that people will use it as an excuse.
5.
In summary, this is a selfish solution.
Movie theater etiquette is pretty much the same around the world. It can be dated back to the time of silent films in the 1920s, when big cards were displayed before a movie with notices like, "Ladies, kindly remove your hats," or "Loud talking and whistling not allowed." Today, the rules are a little different. Don't eat loudly or make too much noise with your snacks. Don't text or check your phone while the movie is on. But the basic principle is the same. Be considerate of those around you. The things that really bug me are people arriving late and disturbing everyone around them while they find their seat. Actually, the same applies to going to the restroom. Go before, or just wait until after the movie. Secondly, tall people sitting without thinking of the person behind them. Just try to sit near the back so that you don't block anyone's view. Also, people whispering. It's almost as bad as talking. In fact, it can be even more annoying. Oh, and finally, the armrests. People who put their elbows on each armrest on either side of them? That's just greedy and inconsiderate.
Parenting Danish style. What the happiest people in the world know about raising confident, capable kids. In recent years, the parenting sections of bookstores have seen an increased number of books that compare the way children are brought up in different cultures. They all promise the same thing. If you bring up your children as they do in this culture, you will become a better parent. The Danish way of parenting is no exception. It promises to help parents from all walks of life raise the happiest, most well-adjusted kids in the world. It bases this bold claim on the fact that Danes consistently rank among the happiest people in the world. The parenting advice, although not particularly new, is all very sensible. If your kids ask a question, give them an honest answer. If your kids do badly at something, tell them they will do better next time. As long as you keep encouraging them and avoid labeling them with negative words, they will thrive. If they fail to make an effort, rather than telling them off and calling them lazy, instead point out that their behavior is lazy. Don't make threats and don't punish by shouting or making them feel small. Don't give in to unreasonable demands or reward bad behavior. Instead, diffuse difficult situations with humor. When a parent is able to do that, punishing and constantly nagging a child to do something become unnecessary. Reading the book reminded me of the African proverb, "It takes a village to raise a child," i.e., unless you are supported by the community, parenting is hard. Danish society emphasizes well-being, cooperation, and social values. Children don't start school until they are 6, and in the early years finish school at 2 o'clock, leaving the afternoon free for play. Schools focus on teamwork rather than individual achievement. This cooperative spirit extends to other areas of life: health, transportation, work. Togetherness and especially family time is a priority. The result is happier parents and happier children. Some might argue that well-organized, wealthy countries like Denmark are better able to provide a supportive environment for parents, and that is definitely a key factor. Rather than focusing on individual parenting styles, we should also take into account the impact of a country's social support structures. Do they create a favorable environment for raising the next generation?
On the whole, most of us eat a pretty balanced diet, a mixture of fruits, vegetables, grains, meat and fish, eggs and dairy foods. Diet fashions come and go: the protein diet, the grapefruit diet, the starving 2 days a week diet, and so on. But, for the most part, we are used to eating a range of foods. It's true that in poorer regions of the world, people eat less meat and more grains and vegetables, and in richer parts, more meat and sugary foods, and more fatty food. But most people aim to have some kind of balance. And that's why I was so intrigued to read recently about the traditional diet of the indigenous people of northern Alaska, the Yupik. Historically, the Yupik didn't used to have a so-called balanced diet at all. Because of sub-zero temperatures and a lack of plant life, these Alaskan natives had to survive on what they could hunt and fish close to home. They would hunt seal and walrus and reindeer, and then they'd cook their meat in sea oil. Sometimes they'd eat frozen fish, and, when times were really hard in winter, they used to eat whale skin and blubber, which, by the way, I'm told is like chewing car tires. But how could a diet of just meat and fat possibly be healthy? Well, according to Harold Draper, an expert in nutrition, there's no such thing as essential foods, only essential nutrients. And there's not only one way to get those nutrients. Many of us have gotten used to eating certain foods in order to get each nutrient. For example, we usually eat fruit to get more vitamin C, and dairy products for calcium and vitamin D. But during the long winters, the Yupik had no access to such foods. Instead, they found the nutrients and vitamins they needed from their diet of fish and wild animal meat. As for the large amount of fat they consumed, it was a healthier kind of fat, not the saturated fats that cause people in the West so many health problems these days. In fact, heart conditions among Yupik people used to be about half the number in the wider population of North America. I say used to because nowadays the majority of Yupik people hunt less, and more of them live close to towns where they eat more processed food, pizza, fries, and soda. Unfortunately, with this has come a rise in obesity, diabetes, and heart conditions.
I usually eat a big breakfast.
1.
Did you used to eat a big breakfast?
2.
I'm not used to eating a lot of meat for breakfast.
Fruit. Juice. June. Junior. Rule. True.
Snacks and candy. Almonds. A chocolate bar. Fruit and vegetables. Cucumber. Lettuce. Raspberries. dairy products, yogurt, breakfast cereals, muesli, sauces, ketchup, protein-rich foods, almonds, eggs, lamb, tuna, yogurt.
The private languages we speak. Lunchtime, says Louise Gleason to her kids. The word comes from the way Gleason's own mother used to pronounce lunch. The kids know exactly what she means, just as they know they've been annoying if their sibling calls them a qualum. These words are not taken from a dialect spoken in Toronto, where they live. They are part of a language that no one outside their family circle understands. This type of secret language, which all families have examples of, is known as a family lect. On the face of it, it's just a bit of silliness. But underneath, is it more meaningful than that? When people speak the same language, it creates a sense of family and unity, says Deborah Tannen, professor at Georgetown University. Its very use communicates something about the intimacy of the relationship. The idea of using language as a means of connecting yourself to others is not confined to family. Many groups create jargon of their own to show membership of a particular community or subculture. Business people, gamers, musicians, and so on. We see it with each new young generation as they seek to assert their distinct identity by adopting a new set of slang words for expressing ideas. The ideas themselves may not be new. For example, in the early 1990s, young English speakers might have said wicked to say something was great. Later, it was sick, then lit, and, at the time of writing, fire. Each word means essentially the same. New words, neologisms, also appear when there is a need to express a new concept. The expression to ghost someone, as in, he ghosted me last week, means to stop communicating with a person abruptly. It did not exist before social media and instant messaging, and only became widespread after 2015 when actor Charlize Theron ended her engagement with Sean Penn by not answering his calls or messages. In business, the term freemium is used to describe a new business model where you offer a basic service for free but ask customers to pay for more advanced features. Both freemium and ghost are examples of context-specific terms that make communication more efficient. Often, however, the reason we create new words is simply to be playful and to inject a little humor into conversations. We do it all the time. We use shortened words, for example, mo for moment, veg for vegetables. We use abbreviations like TMI for too much information when someone gives us details we find unpleasant or embarrassing. Or OTT for over the top when we feel someone has gone too far. Or we create portmanteau words, two words combined into a single descriptive word. Two examples are mansplain, man plus explain, for the way men sometimes unnecessarily explain things to women, assuming they have no knowledge or understanding of them. And mocktail, mock plus cocktail, for a cocktail with no alcohol. We owe many words and phrases now in mainstream use to these habits of language play. Ad, gym, ASAP, bike, webinar, motel. Languages are constantly evolving. Part of this evolution is driven by technology and new ideas. But much of it is down to our custom of using language play to strengthen relationships, whether with family, friends, or colleagues, and our lives are richer as a result.
I know of henna painting as a custom from Indian weddings, but you came across it in Turkey, didn't you?
Yes, in eastern Turkey when I was traveling there. It takes place a few nights before the wedding.
Was it a bit like a bachelorette party?
Well, in the sense that it marks the last evening that a bride spends as a single woman, with her female family and friends, I suppose it is a bit like that. What happens is, typically, the women from both families get together, with the bride, to celebrate with music, song, and dance. But it's not just a party. It's an occasion for sadness, too, because it symbolizes the end of life as a single person and the start of another stage.
So what happens exactly?
Well, the ceremony begins with preparation of the henna. It's traditional for this to be done by the daughter of a couple who have had a successful marriage themselves. Then, after the bride's head is covered in a red veil, her hands and feet are decorated with henna. After that, a gold coin is put into the remaining henna. While this is happening, the guests start to sing, separation songs. These are rather sad, as you can imagine. The party continues well into the night. Then, on the morning of the wedding, a child presents the hennaed coin to the groom as a symbol of future prosperity and good fortune.
I know of henna painting as a custom from Indian weddings, but you came across it in Turkey, didn't you?
Yes, in eastern Turkey when I was traveling there. It takes place a few nights before the wedding.
Was it a bit like a bachelorette party?
Well, in the sense that it marks the last evening that a bride spends as a single woman, with her female family and friends, I suppose it is a bit like that. What happens is, typically, the women from both families get together, with the bride, to celebrate with music, song, and dance. But it's not just a party. It's an occasion for sadness, too, because it symbolizes the end of life as a single person and the start of another stage.
So what happens exactly?
Well, the ceremony begins with preparation of the henna. It's traditional for this to be done by the daughter of a couple who have had a successful marriage themselves. Then, after the bride's head is covered in a red veil, her hands and feet are decorated with henna. After that, a gold coin is put into the remaining henna. While this is happening, the guests start to sing, separation songs. These are rather sad, as you can imagine. The party continues well into the night. Then, on the morning of the wedding, a child presents the hennaed coin to the groom as a symbol of future prosperity and good fortune.
Custom. Dress. Friends. Suppose. Occasion. Pleasure. Music. Spends. Weddings. Decision. Eastern. Lose. Plans. Rings. Single. Surprise. Usual.
Yeah, the mural's been on the side of the local store in my neighborhood for years. Anyone can write on it. You just have to pick up a piece of chalk and complete the sentence. Sometimes my friends and I sit and watch people thinking about what they're going to write on it, what dreams they'd like to come true. It's really interesting what people put. Sometimes it's goals that seem easy to achieve. Things like, I want to plant a tree. Maybe they're not that easy. Who knows? And some of them make you laugh. I want to fix my kitchen faucet was one of my favorites. But then you also get some that are quite moving, especially when it's people wanting to live up to others' expectations of them. Like, I want to be a good parent. That was very touching. And there are themes too. The same things keep coming up. So a lot of people dream of traveling to faraway places, or of mastering a skill, like playing an instrument or something. But generally, there's just a big variety, lots of different wishes. And I often wonder how they'll end up. I suppose some people will fulfill their ambitions and others won't. But it seems everyone's looking for something.
Rise of the Rocket Girls. Everyone knows Buzz Aldrin, the famous astronaut, but not many have heard of Eleanor Francis Helene, an engineer behind several successful NASA space missions. Helene was part of a group of brilliant and determined female mathematicians. Among them, 3 Black women. They are all celebrated in the movie Hidden Figures, and they worked at NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab, JPL, in California in the 1960s. Nathalia Holt, author of the book Rise of the Rocket Girls, says that if these talented women had not worked on the lunar project, man would not have reached the moon. The Rocket Girls started out at JPL in the 1950s, having answered a job posting saying, "Computers needed." They were called computers because, before today's digital devices, you needed humans to do mathematical calculations. And the calculations had to be extremely accurate. If someone had made the smallest mistake, a spacecraft bound for the moon might still be traveling somewhere in outer space, having missed its target entirely. The women employed at JPL went on to become the lab's first computer programmers and engineers. As a result, they had an incredible influence on almost every NASA space mission you can think of. One of the group's early leaders, Macy Roberts, made the decision to hire only women, and this policy continued for the next 30 years. They brought in many women who wanted to be engineers, but didn't have the necessary qualifications. If anyone tried to employ only men or only women today, they wouldn't be allowed to do so. But at a time when women were often less valued at work, Macy Roberts saw she could make a unique work environment with great advantages. The women formed close working relationships. They also worked flexible hours to help each other balance their home and professional lives. As a result, many women stayed on, working at the lab for 30 or 40 years. Holt says that if there were more women engineers today, she probably wouldn't have written the book. She hopes that these human computers will now get the recognition they deserve and be an inspiration to a new generation of female engineers.
Layli Lichtenfeld, big cat conservationist.
I'd like to be able to fly. It'd help me see the bigger picture.
Andres Russo, geologist.
I wish I had the ability to make people magically understand. You know how frustrating it is when you wish other people would get what you're trying to say and they just don't? You think, oh, goodness, I wish they'd stop looking at me in that confused way.
Alize Carrere, geographer.
If I had a superpower, it would be to be invisible so people couldn't see me.
Andrew Thompson, biologist.
Teleporting would be pretty cool. I could travel any place I wanted to. I wish I'd had that power earlier in my career. It would have saved me a lot of air miles. I could also use it to transport things I'd forgotten to take with me on my travels.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, astrophysicist.
I wish I could read other people's minds, but I would like to be able to turn that power on and off. Sometimes you just don't want to know what people are thinking. Also, I'd want to read not just people's minds, but the minds of animals too, like dogs. I've always wondered what they're thinking.
Ricky Chi, filmmaker.
Sometimes I think, if only I could turn anything into any kind of food that I wanted, that would be the most awesome superpower.
1,
Wish.
2,
Chop.
3,
Catch.
4,
Chin.
5,
Wash.
6.
Choose.
Ultimate success. How do you give hope to young people in difficult circumstances? How do you give them something to look forward to that can help them express themselves and raise their expectations of what is possible? Sports can be an answer. But sports can also be exclusive if you can't afford the right equipment, and cruel when it is all about winning. Neither of these things is true of ultimate frisbee, or ultimate as it is often called. Officially recognized by the International Olympic Committee as a sport in 2015, ultimate is, on the face of it, a simple game. Played on a rectangular field, players must pass the frisbee to one another until they reach the end zone. If they catch the frisbee there, they score a goal. Running with the frisbee is not allowed, and if it touches the ground, possession goes to the other team. But that is where similarities to other competitive sports end. In ultimate, there are no referees. The players referee themselves. Men and women compete together, and there are prizes, not only for winning, but also for competing in the spirit of the game. Benoit Stephen discovered ultimate during his final year at Delhi University, when he saw a local club team playing in Greater Kailash, GK, Park. Curious to know more, he joined the club. But he wasn't the only one who was curious. Local children, those of housekeepers or daily laborers, Benoit recalls, would also gather to watch. Enough of these children were interested that they formed their own team, called GK Mad, and Stephen volunteered to help coach them. He was immediately struck by their positive attitude, which fit perfectly with the values of the sport. They didn't get upset about losing. There were no pointing fingers. Even if they were losing 13-0, they would keep encouraging each other, he says. The team became quite skilled, and when they participated in a national tournament in Bengaluru, they performed well, winning their division. More importantly, says Stephen, they won the Spirit Award, where teams are rated by the opposing team on their fair play, positive attitude, and communication skills. During a game, if someone thinks they were fouled, play is paused while the two players concerned discuss what happened, with other players invited to comment honestly if they also saw the incident. This aspect of ultimate gave many of the GK Mad children skills they were lacking. One of them, Sonny, explained how the sport has changed him for the better. I'd hesitate a lot before talking to other people, but now I am a lot more comfortable. I was also not good at resolving fouls, but ultimate helped me develop patience, and now I am much better at resolving them. At tournaments, young players also get to meet an important guest or patron, a lawyer or designer or other professional. Meeting people from different spheres of life inspires the children to dream bigger than they ever had before. A sense of belief creeps in, says Stephen. Inspired by these successes, Stephen and his coaching partner, Vivekanand Srivastava, another enthusiastic ultimate player, set up the Flying Disc Development Foundation in 2019 to bring the sport to more children from tough neighborhoods. The organization is aiming to work with 300 children this year. So far in its short history, it has produced amazing results. 11 of the first 15 children to participate in the program are now youth coaches themselves. 5 have been to college, and 3 have graduated successfully from Delhi University. 1.
Would you like to drive or shall I?
I'd rather you drove if you don't mind. I'm feeling a bit tired.
No, that's fine. Actually, I prefer driving over being a passenger.
2.
What would you like for dinner? I could cook some pasta, or we could get some Indian food from the restaurant nearby.
Well, if you don't mind cooking, pasta sounds great. I like simple food more than spicy food.
3.
So, what would you like to do tomorrow? We could just go for a walk around the old town. Or, if you prefer, we could go to a museum.
To be honest, I'd rather not go to a museum. I think the weather's going to be sunny. It seems a pity to be inside on a nice day.
Okay, great. Should we have a walk then?
4.
What do you feel like doing this weekend? We were thinking either we could go and see the new Matt Damon movie, or there is a free music festival. I'm not sure who's playing. What do you think?
Well, if it were up to me, I'd say let's go to the festival in the park. It doesn't matter if the music isn't very good. It would probably be more fun.
Okay, I'd prefer to do that too.
5.
Okay, here's a question. You have to answer one or the other, okay?
Okay.
If you had to choose, would you rather only be able to shout or only be able to whisper?
What? That's impossible. Either of them would be really annoying for other people.
Do you prefer tea or coffee? Would you like to come with us? Shall we find another restaurant? Would you rather eat out tonight?
The way we get our news is changing. Research collected from 6 continents in 2023 shows visits to online news sites fell across all sections of the population. Only a fifth of people now regularly visit a news site, and around 50% never visit them at all. It seems that nowadays many of us, especially the younger generation, don't look to journalists and experts or to any particular news channel for their news. We are more likely to pay attention to what friends, social media personalities, and influencers are talking about in the news. Much of the time, that's stories about a cultural moment, or stories with a human element. Take an example shown in this photo. In 2023, representatives from the Nisga'a people in Canada arrived in Scotland to accompany home a memorial pole kept in the National Museum of Scotland. The pole honours the Nisga'a people's ancestors and was sold to the Scottish Museum in 1929 by a Canadian anthropologist called Marius Barbeau. Members of the group said it was a moment of great joy when they were reunited with this important part of their culture.
The man paid to do nothing. A Japanese man has invented his dream job, earning around $70 per booking for doing nothing. Shoji Morimoto, a married man with a PhD in physics, offers to be present for people who feel in need of company. Clients suggest meeting somewhere to share a meal in a restaurant or watch butterflies in a park. And he goes and, in his own words, does nothing in particular. His clients seem very happy with the arrangement. In the past 4 years, Morimoto has received approximately 4,000 bookings and today has over 200,000 followers on social media. One client, Aruna Chida, a data analyst, confessed to liking the arrangement because, unlike with her friends, she felt no pressure to be chatty with Morimoto. Morimoto himself does not encourage clients to talk. He rarely starts a conversation, but he doesn't discourage them either. Many of them like to talk because they appreciate having a listener who won't judge them. While many of his appointments are in restaurants, Morimoto is happy to go where the client wants. One invited him to ride a seesaw at a local park. Another asked him to wave goodbye to them at the station. And another client asked him to wait for them at the finishing line of a marathon so that they would have more of an incentive to run. However, some people don't always understand that his only service is to be present. He is not an entertainer or a handyman. He once politely refused to move a refrigerator for a client. Morimoto says the idea for this unusual role came from his previous job in publishing, where people had criticized him for sitting around doing nothing. Now, far from feeling he needs to apologize for doing nothing, he believes he's offering a valuable and useful service. He's even written a book about it, Rental Person Who Does Nothing. People do not have to be useful in any specific way, he says. His popularity seems to show that he's right. Without doing much, you can be useful to people in unexpected ways.
And finally, a town in Mexico has set the record for the largest ever serving of guacamole. The huge pot of guacamole, which was said to weigh nearly 5 metric tons, broke the previous record by nearly a ton. More from our Mexico correspondent.
Yes, so over 400 people helped to prepare this astonishing quantity of guacamole, made of onions, tomatoes, cilantro, and the key ingredient, avocado. Guacamole is, of course, a Mexican national dish, and Periban, the town where the record was broken, is in the main avocado-growing region of the country. Avocado is big business here. Last year, the U.S. is reported to have imported $2.8 billion worth of them from Mexico. But there's another story here, and that's the love affair Mexico has with breaking world records, of any kind. It currently holds 217, more than any other Latin American country, and it's known to be attempting others as we speak. It holds the record for the largest number of people playing table soccer at the same time, 1,080 people in Mexico City. Very entertaining to watch. There was also the uplifting sight of 500 dancers in traditional costume performing the world's biggest Mexican folk dance. And recently, we had the world's biggest boxing lesson in the Zócalo, the main public square here in Mexico City. It was hoped that around 10,000 people would attend. In the end, the event attracted the stunning number of nearly 15,000 people. You might ask why Mexico is so eager to break records. The simple fact is that Mexicans love to celebrate their culture. In fact, they love an excuse to celebrate, period. One girl I spoke to at the boxing event told me how thrilling it was to take part. It's joyful, she said, a beautiful energy. And that idea of a joyful celebration also explains why a lot of these record-breaking events are based around food. Back to you, Karen.
Fake news and how to spot it. In 1903, In West Virginia in the U.S., the Clarksburg Daily Telegram was convinced that a rival newspaper, the Clarksburg Daily News, was stealing its stories. Knowing that if they accused them openly, it would just be one person's word against another, they decided to get some proof. So, they published a fake news story as a trap. The story was about an attack on a man named Meshk Swenkefew, a man living in the town who was reported to have been in an argument about a pet dog. The argument turned into a fight, and Swenkefew was badly injured. Sure enough, the next day, the same story appeared in the Daily News. The name featured in the story, Swenkefew, spelled "We Fake News" backward, and the Daily News was forced to admit that it had been stealing articles. Fast forward 100 years or so, and the term fake news has entered everyday language, but, as this story indicates, made-up stories and disinformation have been around for centuries. We can break down this phenomenon into several main categories based on the level of intent to mislead and the purpose in doing so. The first is intentional and has the purpose of convincing people of an idea to get their support and, in doing so, gain power and influence. It involves building a false narrative by feeding people a constant drip of disinformation that takes root in their minds. Unfortunately, it is true that if you repeat a lie often enough, people will believe you. Many of the conspiracy theories that circulate on the internet belong to this category. For example, the ones that say people never landed on the moon. The second and equally harmful type of fake news is information used to trick people into buying something. It may take the form of a scientific report saying, for example, that certain foods or vitamins improve life expectancy, or that diet pills are completely safe. Or it could involve posting fake reviews of a product to influence a purchasing decision. Unfortunately, we are often quick to take a person's word for something if it confirms what we want to hear, especially when it comes from an official or scientific-sounding source. A third type of fake news is stories put out there to catch our attention or amuse us. How to tell what someone is thinking just from their body language. Woman accidentally joins rescue group looking for her in the mountains. Or bear chases group of wildlife photographers. This last story was an internet prank based on a photoshopped image created by the photographers themselves. The other two stories are examples of clickbait, stories intended to make us click through to advertisements on another page. Harmless, you may think, but this is nevertheless a kind of manipulation. Lastly, there is unintentional fake news, false information that arises because the writer either didn't have time or couldn't be bothered to check the facts. This could be harmless, but it could also cause serious problems. With AI-generated articles and images on the rise, spotting fake news has become increasingly difficult. However, there are some good habits we can learn to help us identify it. By getting into these habits, we can train ourselves to notice fake news and develop the critical mindset that will protect us from its harmful effects. Identify what kind of story you are reading. Is it a factual piece, an opinion piece, or a humorous piece? Ask yourself why the story has been written. Who is the writer, and what expertise do they have? Are they trying to push a particular opinion or narrative? Question your own emotional reaction to the story. Are your own views and biases influencing how you read the story? Think about the other side of the story. Does the article take this into account? Check the facts. Where did the article first appear? Does it refer to real data? Does it give the sources for this data? Are the images real? It's especially important to check if you plan to use or repeat the information.
Conversation 1.
Hi, Phil. How are things?
Not bad. But I'm a bit fed up with having to work so hard now that 2 people in my team have left.
Yeah, I know what you mean. We have the same issue. By the way, did you hear about Liam? Apparently, he's been promoted.
Liam? But he's only been here a year.
I know, but according to Sana, he's been given the job of area manager.
Area manager? I don't believe it. He's so young, and not very experienced either.
Well, Sana also suspects that he's going to get a massive raise, something like double his current salary.
Yeah, well, I'd take that with a grain of salt. I don't think the company has money to throw around right now. But all the same, I'm not saying he's bad at his job. You know, good for him, really. But where's our reward? We've been here years sweating away.
Conversation 2.
Hi, Caitlin.
Hi, Freddie.
Hey, you know Dr. Harris at the local clinic?
Yes.
Well, he left the practice yesterday, and someone told me the reason was that he was fired. It seems he's not a fully qualified doctor.
What? Who told you that?
Tara.
I wouldn't take too much notice of what Tara says. She tends to exaggerate things.
I wouldn't be so sure. These things do happen. I asked Samara too, and she told me about another case she knew, someone at the hospital she used to work at, and he had gone from one hospital to another across the country using a fake resume.
Oh my goodness, that's terrible.
I know. But actually, that doesn't surprise me. It's not so uncommon.
Maybe, but I would be very surprised. Dr. Harris seemed like a nice, genuine guy to me.
Apparently. Supposedly.
According. Generally. Happened. Information. Proportion. Suspect. Surprisingly.
These days, women's soccer attracts a lot of attention. But it has been a long struggle to reach this point. In many countries, women were banned from playing soccer until the 1970s, not because of any lack of skill or talent, but on the grounds that it was bad for their health. Even after the bans were lifted, the idea that soccer was not really a woman's game continued, and each new generation of women players has had to fight to be recognized. One woman who symbolizes this fight is Brazil's Marta Vieira da Silva, or simply Marta, as she is known to soccer fans around the world. Coming from a poor background in the northwest of Brazil, she learned by playing soccer with the boys on the street. She reached the top of her profession as FIFA World Player of the Year in 2006, a title that she won 5 more times. The talented and determined Mahta is an inspiration to female soccer players everywhere, and an inspiration to women in general for her campaigns for equal pay for women in sports. In 2020, Brazil became one of the first countries to agree to pay the national women's team players the same salaries as men.
An ordinary man. Neil Armstrong, the most famous of the astronauts on the spacecraft Apollo 11, has been called the ultimate professional. He was hired to do a job. He did the job, and then he went home and kept quiet about it. In 40 years, he only gave 2 interviews. But how could the man who first set foot on the moon, known to people all over the world, remain such a mystery? Armstrong followed a career that came from a passion for flying that he developed as a child in the 1930s. He learned to fly before he had graduated from high school, and then he took classes in aerospace engineering at Purdue University in the U.S. After this, he served in the U.S. Navy as a pilot for 3 years, flying 78 missions in the war in Korea. He left the Navy in 1952 and got a job with the Lewis Flight Propulsion Laboratory, where he flew experimental aircraft. He reached speeds of 6,600 kilometers an hour and altitudes of over 200,000 feet. It is not clear when he decided to become an astronaut, but it was never his ambition to be famous. His aim was simply to push the limits of flight. In 1962, news came that NASA was looking for astronauts for their Apollo program. Incredibly excited, he applied for the job and was accepted. The rest, as they say, is history. When he and the other astronauts returned from the Apollo 11 moon landing in July 1969, Armstrong was a worldwide celebrity and could have done anything he wanted. TV shows, public speaking, interviews. Instead, he became a teacher and also worked for an avionics firm. On weekends, he went flying to get away from all the attention. Armstrong retired in 2002, 10 years before his death. He had fulfilled his dream, but he did not feel any more special than all the others who had worked on the Apollo space program. He was just a pilot.
1.
To do a job.
2.
A hero of our time.
3.
The ultimate professional.
4.
He only gave 2 interviews.
Daniel Kish, who was born blind, taught himself to see using the technique of echolocation when he was a small child. As he moves around, Kish clicks his tongue and then listens for the echo that comes back. If the echo is loud, then he knows that an object is near. If the echo is not so loud, he knows the object is farther away. He has become so skilled at using this technique that he can do many things that blind people cannot ordinarily do. By clicking his tongue 2 or 3 times a second, he can ride a bicycle, go hiking in the countryside, and play ball games. Echolocation is a skill that is also used in the animal world, where it is often key to survival. The best-known example is bats. This has led to Kish being called the real-life Batman, a description he welcomes. Just like bats, Kish can tell from the quality of the echo not only how far away an object is, but also its size and its density. A wooden fence, for example, whose surface is softer than brick or metal, gives a warmer echo than a brick wall. So what can he actually see? Up close, at about 5 meters, he can recognize cars and bushes. Houses come into focus at about 50 meters. Kish now spends a lot of his time training other blind people in his technique, which he calls flash sonar. He says that many blind people already use echolocation in a passive way, but what they don't know is how to use it actively. The average person can develop good echolocation skills in about a month if he or she trains for a couple of hours a day, which is pretty fast. Kish is also looking at the possibility of training fully sighted people, like firefighters, to use this skill in situations in which their vision is limited, like in a smoke-filled building. He is amused by the nickname for which he is now famous, but mostly, he just loves what he is doing and sees great potential for it.
I get knocked down, but I get up again. A successful career as a stunt double takes dedication, passion, persistence, and resilience. Dedication, because of the years of hard physical training you have to spend improving your skills. Passion, because you must love what you do, which in this case is to make lead actors look good on screen while taking none of the glory yourself. Persistence, because you need to be able to maintain your self-belief and keep pursuing jobs, even when you meet with constant rejection. And lastly, resilience, because you must have the strength to come back from injury, to pick yourself up and go again when your body is saying enough is enough. Perhaps no one embodied these qualities better than Kitty O'Neil, who made a living as a stunt double in an era when most women's doubles were men in disguise. But this was far from being the only challenge that she faced in an eventful life marked by moments of both success and disaster. Kitty O'Neil was born in Texas in the U.S. in 1946. As a baby, she got a high fever after an attack of measles and, as a result, lost her hearing. Some years later, Kitty's father, who was a pilot in the U.S. Air Force, died tragically in a plane crash, leaving Kitty's mother to bring her up on her own. If anything, being deaf seemed to make Kitty more determined. "You have to show people you can do anything," she said later, explaining why at a young age she took up both the piano and cello, while also pursuing excellence in sports. Her first ambition was to be an Olympic diver, a goal that she was on the way to achieving when, in 1964, illness struck again. Following treatment in the hospital for a wrist injury, Kitty contracted spinal meningitis. For a while, it looked like she would never walk again, let alone take part in competitive sports. However, she recovered and, refusing to be discouraged, turned her attention to breaking speed records on land and water. Later, she joked that diving wasn't scary enough for her anyway. In 1976, she broke the land speed record for a woman, averaging 825 kilometers per hour across the Alvord Desert in Oregon in a 3-wheeled, rocket-powered car. This speed record still stands today. 2 years later, she attempted a similar feat in the Mojave Desert in California, but this time, her car flipped over at 550 kilometers per hour, flew 200 meters through the air, and landed on its nose. Kitty walked away with minor shoulder injuries. She also set speed records on water skis, 169 kilometers per hour, and in a speedboat, 440 kilometers per hour. "Speed gives me goosebumps," she once said, I love it. During this time, she met stuntman Ronald Hambleton, who inspired her to get into stunt work in movies. Her skills as a driver, scuba diver, water skier, and skydiver, combined with her natural fearlessness, meant she was perfect for the job. Moreover, being deaf, she claimed, helped her concentrate, whether it was racing cars or leaping off buildings. She appeared in many movies of the era, including Smokey and the Bandit. But perhaps her most famous stunt was when she jumped from a 13-story building in the 1979 TV show Wonder Woman. Kitty O'Neill died in 2018, aged 72. A self-made woman who had every challenge possible thrown at her, she was in many ways more extraordinary than the acting stars she doubled for. And after her, it was impossible for the movie world to argue that women couldn't do stunts.
Hello, it's Max, right?
That's right, yes.
And you're here about the pet sitter role.
Yes. Pleased to meet you,
Susan.
Oh, Susan. Yeah. I'm looking for a job over the summer months, and I think I'd be well suited to this role.
Do you know anything about the job already?
Well, I'm familiar with the type of work because I have a friend who worked for you last year in North Miami, looking after dogs.
Oh, okay. So you understand the principle then. We look after people's pets in their homes when they go away on vacation. It's mostly dogs, but we look after other animals too.
And they're live-in jobs, are they? I mean, living in the owner's home?
Usually, yes, though not always. With cats, it's more common that we're asked just to go in and feed them and to make sure that everything's okay. The same with rabbits and hamsters and the like. But tell me a little bit about yourself, Max.
Okay. I'm 22 years old. I just finished college. I majored in data analysis, and I'm applying for jobs for September. Not just here, in various places abroad. So it's definitely temporary work I'm looking for. I have quite a lot of experience with looking after animals because I grew up on a small farm in Texas. We had cows and chickens, dogs, cats. I used to help my parents out on the farm during the summer, so I'm quite knowledgeable about animals. And I think I'm good at coping with problems when they arise.
That's good to hear. I mean, that's a very important part of the role. As you can imagine, one of the owner's main worries is what happens if my pet gets sick while I'm away.
Yes, of course. That doesn't faze me. As long as I have the details of the vet and so on, I think I'd feel comfortable with that.
Okay. Well, obviously, we will need to check references. It's a big responsibility and commitment looking after someone's pet. Not only that, but also treating their home with respect. Finding people who are reliable and trustworthy is very important to us.
Of course.
I think you've seen the terms of employment that I sent you. How does the job sound to you so far?
Yeah, I'm very excited to do it.
And do you have any questions for me at this stage?
Yes. How much time do the owners typically expect you to spend with their pets?
Well, that depends. Some owners...
I'm familiar with the type of work because I have a friend who worked for you last year. I think I'd be well suited to this role. I majored in data analysis. I have quite a lot of experience with looking after animals. I'm quite knowledgeable about animals. I'm quite good with, for example, people. I'm good at coping with problems. I think I'd feel comfortable with that. I'm very excited to do it. I'm serious about wanting to, for example, learn.
although, business, comfortable, environment, foreign, knowledgeable, months, suited, world, clothes, February, folk, island, lengths, receipt, surface, thorough.
The Agora School in Roermond was designed specifically to boost students' creativity. Its motto comes from Albert Einstein: "Imagination is far more important than knowledge." 75% of the time students follow the teaching program, and 25% it's self-directed learning. Students choose what they want to do, suggesting a personal project that inspires them. That could be investigating a historical mystery, or it could be acquiring a new skill, like how to do sign language. But it must have a concrete outcome, such as a written report, a presentation, or a video. In the main hallway there's a climbing wall and shared working spaces. Along the corridor, one person is practicing guitar and another is painting a picture. It all feels very relaxed. There are also computer workstations where students can do independent research. Learning how to separate reliable and unreliable information on the internet is all part of the learning process.
Discovering positive education. Positive education is an approach to learning based on the principles of positive psychology. The idea originated in Australia, where a psychologist called Martin Seligman drew on research that showed that when learners were anxious or tense, their brains could not learn efficiently. He wanted students to be mindful of their emotions and ask themselves what made them feel happy, healthy, engaged, and inspired. Seligman managed to apply these theories of positive psychology in a collaboration with the Geelong Grammar School. By helping students to deal with negative thoughts and behaviour, teachers improved students' feelings of well-being and at the same time succeeded in boosting their academic results and career prospects. Since then, positive education ideas have spread to various countries across the world. Anywhere, in fact, where educators could see that children's potential was being harmed by a lack of emotional awareness and support. Taddy Blecher, a promoter of positive education at the Maharishi Institute in South Africa, says that emotional awareness is also important in working life. Good grades will get your foot in the door for an interview. Thereafter, employers are looking for your qualities as a human being: maturity, leadership, passion, empathy, emotional intelligence. There is also what the writer Sean Achor calls the happiness advantage. Research quoted by Achor showed that employees in a positive mood were able to perform better at work. Doctors were 50% more accurate in diagnosing their patients' conditions, and salespeople sold nearly 40% more.
Do any of these situations sound familiar to you? You were sleeping in one morning, and you suddenly realized you were meeting a friend at 9, so you had to jump out of bed and quickly get dressed and rush out of the house. In the evening, you remembered you were supposed to send a friend a happy birthday message the following day, but by the next morning you'd forgotten again. You were going to tell a joke, but you forgot the punchline. You were about to make a comment in a discussion, but when the moment came to speak, your mind went blank. You would have introduced a person you'd met to your friend, but you didn't because you couldn't remember their name. These are all typical examples of times when we wish we had a better memory. Well, imagine if you could remember everything that had happened to you more or less every day since you were born. That is the case with 33-year-old Australian Rebecca Sharrock. She is one of about 100 people in the world with a condition called HSAM, Highly Superior Autobiographical Memory. While you and I can remember most details of what we were doing yesterday, what clothes we wore, where we went, who we met, what conversations we had, people with HSAM can do this for almost every single day of their lives. Sharrock remembers sitting in her car on the way home from the hospital and the sheepskin seat covers. This was when she was 12 days old. Ask her about what happened on January 17, 2010, and she remembers it was a Sunday, not an eventful day, but she had the best breakfast with pancakes and waffles. And on July 21st, 2007, easy, she'll tell you, it was the day the final Harry Potter book came out. As a big fan of the series, she can recite almost every line of each of the 7 books by heart. You'd think that being able to remember everything that happened would be a huge advantage. But in fact, Sharrock says the constant stream of flashbacks can be emotionally exhausting. Smelling a particular smell or seeing the sunlight through a tree can set in motion a train of memories. As a result, she sleeps with classical music on in the background and keeps herself busy during the day to shut out the constant remembering. Perhaps more surprising is that in other ways, her memory is normal. Ask her to remember 20 objects and a picture, and she will do no better than the rest of us. Do any of these situations sound familiar to you? You were sleeping in one morning, and you suddenly realized you were meeting a friend at 9, so you had to jump out of bed and quickly get dressed and rush out of the house. In the evening, you remembered you were supposed to send a friend a happy birthday message the following day, but by the next morning you'd forgotten again. You were going to tell a joke, but you forgot the punchline. You were about to make a comment in a discussion, but when the moment came to speak, your mind went blank. You would have introduced a person you'd met to your friend, but you didn't because you couldn't remember their name. These are all typical examples of times when we wish we had a better memory. Well, imagine if you could remember everything that had happened to you more or less every day since you were born. That is the case with 33-year-old Australian Rebecca Sharrock. She is one of about 100 people in the world with a condition called HSAM, Highly Superior Autobiographical Memory. While you and I can remember most details of what we were doing yesterday, what clothes we wore, where we went, who we met, what conversations we had, people with HSAM can do this for almost every single day of their lives. Sharrock remembers sitting in her car on the way home from the hospital and the sheepskin seat covers. This was when she was 12 days old. Ask her about what happened on January 17, 2010, and she remembers it was a Sunday, not an eventful day, but she had the best breakfast with pancakes and waffles. And on July 21st, 2007, easy, she'll tell you, it was the day the final Harry Potter book came out. As a big fan of the series, she can recite almost every line of each of the 7 books by heart. You'd think that being able to remember everything that happened would be a huge advantage. But in fact, Sherrock says the constant stream of flashbacks can be emotionally exhausting. Smelling a particular smell or seeing the sunlight through a tree can set in motion a train of memories. As a result, she sleeps with classical music on in the background and keeps herself busy during the day to shut out the constant remembering. Perhaps more surprising is that in other ways, her memory is normal. Ask her to remember 20 objects and a picture, and she will do no better than the rest of us. 1.
I was going to ask Sarah to come, but I asked Kate instead.
2.
She was supposed to be in Sao Paulo this week, but she's sick, so she couldn't go.
3.
He was going to send. He would have sent me the original, but he couldn't find it, so he sent me a copy.
4.
We were supposed to arrive. We would have arrived there by 10 o'clock, but the train didn't get in until 11.
5.
He was about to announce his retirement, but now he thinks he'll stay until next year.
6.
The council was going to start work on a new mall, but residents opposed the idea.
Who's a clever bird, then? How do you find out what an animal is thinking? How do you know if it is thinking, acquiring information about the world around it and interpreting it at all? One good way, thought Harvard graduate Irene Pepperberg, might be to ask it. In 1977, she decided she would teach a 1-year-old African grey parrot named Alex to speak English. I thought, if he learned to communicate, I could ask him questions about how he sees the world. Pepperberg bought Alex in a Chicago pet store. She let the store assistant choose him because she didn't want other scientists to say that she had deliberately chosen a clever bird. Given that Alex's brain was the size of a walnut, most researchers thought Pepperberg was certain to fail. Some people actually called me crazy for trying this, she said. But with Pepperberg's patient teaching, Alex learned how to imitate almost 100 English words, including the names of food. He could count to 6 and had learned the sounds for 7 and 8. But the point was not just to see if Alex could learn words by heart and then repeat them. Pepperberg wanted to get inside his mind and learn more about a bird's understanding of the world. In one demonstration, Pepperberg placed Alex on a wooden perch in the middle of the room. She then held up a green key and a small green cup for him to look at. "What's the same?" she asked. Without hesitation, Alex's beak opened. "Colour." "What's different?" Pepperberg asked. "Shape," Alex said. She demonstrated that Alex could tell what a key was, whatever its size or colour. He also made up new words for things. He called an apple a baneri, a combination of banana and cherry, his favourite fruits. Many of Alex's cognitive skills, such as his ability to understand the concepts of same and different, are rare in the animal world. But parrots, like humans, live a long time in complex societies. And, like humans, these birds must adapt to changing relationships and environments. They need to be able to distinguish colours to know when a fruit is ripe or unripe, Pepperberg explained. They need to categorise things. What's edible, what isn't, and to know the shapes of predators. And it helps to have a concept of numbers if you need to keep track of your flock. For a long-lived bird, you can't do all of this with instinct. Thinking must be involved. Alex also expressed feelings and awareness of others' feelings. If Pepperberg grew frustrated, Alex could notice this and offer an I'm sorry, to her. "Wanna go back?" he would say when he'd had enough of the tests and wanted to go back to his cage. "Talk clearly," he commanded when one of the other birds that Pepperbug was teaching mispronounced the word green. "He's moody," said Pepperbug, so he interrupts the others, or he gives the wrong answer just to be difficult. Through her experiments, Pepperbug certainly learned more about the mind of a parrot, but like the parent of a teenager, she learned the hard way.
Hi there. I'm interested in taking a class at your college. The web development class. I'd just like a bit more information.
Is that the entry-level class?
Sorry, I don't know. What do you mean by entry level?
Okay, so there are 2 levels of this class. Web Development Essentials and the Full Stack Web Development for more advanced students. Do you have coding experience?
Yes, I do. Quite a lot. So, not the Essentials class. The full... Sorry, I didn't catch the name. The more advanced class? When is that?
Full Stack Web Development. That starts in January.
Oh, that's a shame. Well, I definitely want to do that, but I'm also looking for a class for this term. So, there was another one that looked interesting, the one on AI and machine learning. Can you explain what the class involves?
Yes, hang on. I'll just get the information. Okay, beginning on September 20th, yes. The course description says it's for people with experience with computing and it looks at current trends in AI and how it can...
Sorry, I can't hear you very well. It's a bad connection. Can you speak up a little?
Oh, okay. The class looks at current trends in AI, and it shows you how AI can find solutions to real-world problems.
That sounds good. What was the start date again?
September 20th.
And I imagine it comes with a certification?
It's an accredited course, but there is no actual exam at the end.
Sorry, I'm not really with you. Are you saying that there's no certificate at the end?
Oh, yes, you get a certificate from the college. And that's definitely something an employer would value.
And the other details? Cost? Times?
It's every Tuesday from 7 p.m. till 9 p.m., starting on September 20th. The cost is $328, unless you're a registered student. There is a 1-week break at the end of October.
Hang on a second. That's too much to take in. Did you say $320?
No, $328 unless you're already a registered student. Then it's free.
No, I'm not, but I am interested. I'll think about it.
Okay, but don't think for too long. There are only 4 spots left in the class.
All right, thank you. I'll get back to you soon on that. But can I sign up for the advanced web development one in January now?
Sure. Can you fill in the form on the...
1.
Are you saying the class is full?
2.
Did you say Tuesday?
3.
Can you speak up a little?
4.
What do you mean?
5.
Could you give me an example?
Our listeners generally tune in for specific advice on bills or savings. But I just wanted to take a moment today to recommend online surveys about attitudes to money. There are many of them out there. Just Google Attitude to Money survey. And taking one can be very helpful in the day-to-day management of your finances. The surveys cover all areas. Attitude to risk, for example. How willing are you to invest or spend money to make money? Attitude to savings. Do you have savings? What have you saved money for in the past? Attitude to debt. So, Does owing money make you uncomfortable? Or what kind of things would you borrow money for? There are also surveys that can shine a light on your spending habits. That could be useful if you're trying to control your spending because times are a little tight. So, they'll ask questions like, what are your main expenses? What things could you economize on, if necessary? But it may not be about cutting back. It may just be that you'd like to know what kind of spender you are. What things do you happily spend money on? Is it going out, buying clothes, eating out, subscription services, etc.? Or what purchases have you found the most satisfying? I think that's always a good question to ask yourself. Or it might be about what kind of shopper you are. Are you someone who regularly looks for bargains? Do you like to spoil yourself? And so on. I think what's important here is, as well as telling you how you view money, such surveys can also indicate whether you are likely to get into financial difficulty in the future.
Saving for a rainy day. Come on, Norway. This doesn't even feel like a competition anymore. Consistently listed among the top 5 happiest countries in the world, Norway offers a quality of life that other countries can only dream of. It is one of the wealthiest countries in the world. Only Luxembourg and a couple of others are richer. As well as earning a good salary, Norwegians also get a good education and usually find the job they want. Unemployment is just 3%. Young Norwegians' disposable income has actually increased in recent years. On top of that, people enjoy good health and live a long life. Norway has not always been a rich country. Just last century, Norwegians were emigrating to the US in their thousands in search of a better life. The rise in oil prices, Norway has a lot of oil and gas, in the 1970s changed all that. But it isn't only Norway's huge reserves that account for its success. Other less successful economies have even greater resources. It is also down to the Norwegians' natural thrift and strong work ethic. Norwegians are always near the top in global surveys of worker productivity rates. When you arrive in Oslo for the first time, don't expect to see skyscrapers and rows of Ferraris and Porsches. Norway may be rich, but it is modest in its wealth. In fact, in today's digital age where work seems to follow us everywhere, even on vacation, the people of Norway are trying to redefine wealth to mean having a balanced life. The government has passed laws that emphasize the importance of family and time off, offering subsidized childcare, long vacation time, and generous maternity and paternity leave. They have even said that fathers must, by law, take time off to be with their children. It is one of the few countries to do so. At the same time, the country is saving for the future. Every dollar earned from oil is put straight into what is now the world's biggest pension fund, worth over $1.3 trillion. None of this money is spent on infrastructure projects, not even new schools and hospitals. So at a time when most other countries just borrow money to finance the pensions of their growing retired population, Norway is sitting pretty.
1,
No thanks, I'm just looking.
2,
Even the most difficult problems have a solution.
3,
I'm just going to brush my teeth, then we can go.
4,
Don't worry, it's only money.
5,
He even lost his own wedding ring once.
6,
It's only a suggestion. You don't have to follow it.
7,
I'm afraid that's just life, isn't it?
8,
It's only the second time we've met.
1.
We all like to spoil ourselves from time to time. At least, I know I do.
2.
That's okay, I guess. But some people take it too far.
We all like to spoil ourselves from time to time. At least I know I do. It's nice to relax in a hot bath, to buy an item of clothing that you've wanted for a long time, to get your nails done, to have a meal delivered to your home instead of cooking. But in recent years, some people, and I mostly mean the well-off, seem to have gotten the idea that their pets need spoiling too. Globally, pet care today is a $260 billion business. True, most of that money is spent on basic care, that's to say essential food and vet's bills. And some of it is spent on what I'd call typical extras, things like rabbit runs, cat baskets, getting someone to look after your pet while you're away. But there's a third category that's exploded in the last few years: pet pampering. And among those kinds of services, probably the most popular is pet grooming, when you have someone wash your pet, cut its fur, and deliver it back to you smelling sweet and fresh. That's okay, I guess, but some people take it too far. At the Waggington Luxury Pet Hotel in Singapore, grooming is taken to a whole new level. They have a pet swimming pool, imagine, and spa facilities, which include nourishing mud treatments for fur. Does that really exist? Animal food treats are another big growth area. Monica Keogh, a store owner in West Sydney, Australia, runs a business called Pooch Cakes. She sells special birthday cakes for dogs. Each cake costs like $45, and the business is doing very well. Another aspect of pet pampering is investing in special medical care for your pet. So, if your cat's socially anxious, these days you can have it examined by a cat psychologist. If your goldfish has vision problems, you can take it to a specialist fish doctor. In California, when Emily Alvarez's dog developed a limp, rather than have the vet operate on it, she took it to an animal rehab center, a kind of gym, where it was given a course of physical therapy exercises, like those an athlete would do. Some might say this is just common sense rather than pampering, but I'm not so sure.
1.
I get headaches when I read. I think I need to get my eyes tested.
2.
I can never make a decision when buying clothes. I had Reika choose this dress for me.
3.
I got the college to change my minor from geography to history.
4.
We need to have the fridge looked at. It's making weird noises.
5.
The mechanic said they'd have someone call us when the car is ready.
6.
We had the shelves put up for us by a contractor.
Car wash. Shelves. Shopper. Chores. Richer. Watch. Decision. Garage. Pleasure. Change. College. Fridge.
Agent. Arrange. Cheese. Choice. Fashion. General. Machine. Sugar. Television. Usual.
Keep on truckin'. Roy Choi is known in his native Los Angeles as a successful restaurateur and TV chef. But globally, his influence is much greater than that. He's the man who helped start a whole new trend in mobile cuisine. The Kogi barbecue food truck began as a simple business idea. Two friends in Los Angeles thought it might be fun to mix Korean barbecue recipes with Mexican tacos and sell the takeout food from a truck. That was way back in 2008. The resulting tacos, what founder Roy Choi calls Los Angeles on a plate, became an instant success. Food trucks have been around for a long time. There are hot dog and hamburger trucks selling cheap eats along roadsides and next to construction sites all over California. Cleverly, what Kogi barbecue food managed to do was to bring higher quality food at a reasonable price to a new generation of consumers. By avoiding the costs of buying or renting expensive premises, Choi and entrepreneurs like him were able to set up a business at a fraction of the cost of opening a new restaurant. In a city where restaurants come and go on a regular basis, they had no problems finding chefs and staff to operate the food trucks. At the same time, consumers less willing to spend their money in traditional restaurants were happy to find that they could still go out and find good food at an affordable price. Today, thousands of upmarket food trucks are parked on city streets from San Francisco to Washington, D.C., selling everything from luxurious lobster rolls to handmade ice cream. What seemed at the time to be a passing fad is now a huge multi-billion-dollar global industry. There has even been a Hollywood movie, Chef, about the phenomenon. Choi is modest about his part in this revolution. I picked up on the feeling that food was important, he writes, not just a meal to fuel yourself to do something else. But it wasn't simply the idea to fuse Korean and Mexican cuisine that brought in the customers. What really put Kogi on the map was its early use of social media. Initially, Kogi's small team didn't have much luck selling their food outside nightclubs on Sunset Boulevard. Then they started exploiting the growing power of social networking. Kogi used social media to constantly update its customers on its changing location. Little by little, a loyal group of digitally connected young followers appeared, tracking Kogi, and started to create a buzz around the brand. Within a few months, Kogi was attracting hundreds of customers and serving up to 200 kilos of food at several stops every day. Newsweek called it America's first viral eatery. Kogi Barbecue now has an impressive 180,000 followers on social media and 4 trucks. Roy has a permanent restaurant too. Branding and a catchy name are very important. Bon in the USA, Vietnamese sandwiches, Curry Up Now, Indian food, and Waff and Roll, waffle sandwiches, are some good examples. The trucks themselves are brightly painted and covered with colorful stickers. At 10 p.m. on a cold Saturday night, I join the line outside the Kogi barbecue truck. It's a long line, mostly of young people. Customers take photos of their tacos as they buy them and message them to their friends. One couple drove 2 hours to be here, and they joke and chat with a local couple who are regulars. There is definitely an important social aspect to this. It may be takeout food, but it's a shared experience, and, from what I can see, a very happy one. And after all, isn't that what eating should be about?
Hi there. Is that Maria?
Yes, speaking.
Oh, hi. It's me, Nora. I'm calling about the strategy and planning job. I received your letter and offer yesterday afternoon. Thank you so much for that.
Oh, great. Yes, we were really pleased to be able to offer the job to you. So what do you think?
Well, yeah, I'd love to accept.
Fantastic.
I'd just like to discuss a couple of details.
Okay, sure. What else would you like to know?
Well, a key thing for me is the starting salary. I think you know I'm at around $4,000 more in my current job, and I was hoping that you might be able to move a bit in my direction there.
Well, of course we'd love to, but I'm sure you'll appreciate that we're a small organization and there's a limit to what we can offer.
No, I get that completely, and it is the job itself that interests me. It's just that, if you look at it from my point of view, I have certain expenses that I need to cover, rent and bills and so on.
No, I understand that. Obviously, at the end of the day, no one wants to see a drop in their standard of living. Let me go back to the board and see what I can do. But I can't promise anything, I'm afraid.
Thank you. I do appreciate that.
Okay, not at all. Was there anything else?
Well, you asked if I could start as soon as possible, and I can give my notice in today to my current employer. But there is one issue. I had a 2-week vacation scheduled in October. So that would mean starting work in about 7 weeks. Would that be a problem?
To tell you the truth, yes, it would. The position has been open for 3 months now, so we're really eager to get someone started. Is there some way of postponing your vacation?
I'd have to speak to my partner.
Would you be willing to reduce that to just a week's vacation? I think we could probably accommodate that.
Yes, it's not ideal, but I think that might work.
Okay. Well, let's work on that basis then, and in the meantime, I'll talk to the board about salary. I probably won't get back to you before tomorrow now, realistically, but I hope.
A. Basis. Take. E. Received. Details. I. Mind. Ideal. O. Post. Negotiate. Oo. Move. Include.
1.
A key thing for me is
2.
I was hoping you might.
3.
Let's face it,
4.
at the end of the day,
5.
what did you have in mind?
6.
To tell you the truth,